Good morning, Raptor Freaks. Lexi Otts here, Monday morning, family day. So a lot of you are off today. It's a long weekend. Hopefully, you get a chance to just chill and have time with your family, since that's what the day is called, Family Day. Go have family time. The All-Star weekend in Utah has ended. They had the last event last night, the All-Star game. It was a weird weekend. I would just kind of do a general overview of the whole weekend today, just because it all culminated. Of course, we'll talk a lot about the All-Star game last night. But yeah, what I'm really thinking about this weekend is very mid, very, very mid. If out of the 3 nights, I would say Friday night was the best night. Saturday night was okay with the dunk contest and Mac, but it was still kind of lame overall. And then last night, as a lot of people are saying, that All-Star game was one of the worst basketball games ever played. The coach of one of the teams, Michael Malone, son of original Toronto Raptors coach Brendan Malone, saying yesterday that is not basketball. What they were doing last night. That is not basketball. What they were doing last night. And people like Jokic, he says, "Well, I would pick me last too in the process because I don't fit this kind of game." And that is silly games that are stupid and just kind of like no defense and like not competitive and just kind of silly. Honestly, it was funny actually when Jokic got picked in the schoolyard pick. He like walked over like he was getting picked, but he didn't realize that Lauri Markkanen was still available to be chosen too. It looked very arrogant what he did, because it looked like Jokic was just like, okay, I cannot be the last pick, so I'm going to just stand up and make sure I'm the next pick instead of Markkanen. Well, Markkanen was left, bro. And he felt real bad afterwards because optically watching it, it looked really bad. It looked like Jokic just said, okay, you cannot have the MVP of the NBA the last 2 years be the last pick as the starter. Well, you weren't, Nicola. There was still somebody sitting behind you. There's just all kinds of stupid shit like that last night, honestly. All kinds of dumb little things that happen. But you know what? At least our guy won. Our guy won in major ways last night. Our guy Pascal Siakam having the best All-Star weekend anybody in the whole fucking like NBA and everybody. Siakam had the best time. And it's hilarious because he really did change his plans at the last minute to come there. He was ready to go to the islands. He was ready to go do his own thing and just have time and rest. Well, he switched it up. And boy, did he switch it up, because honestly, Siakam, you had the best All-Star weekend in a lot of ways. You're just so jubilant, smiling. You played really good in the All-Star game last night. I was really proud of you and some of the things you were doing out there. And then you introduced the halftime show, which is so fitting in some ways, because I know you guys have connection to Burna Boy. I know that Precious is real tight with Burna Boy. In fact, he tours with Burna Boy sometimes and is on stage with him regularly. So, of course, the Toronto Raptor, Pascal Siakam from Cameroon, is introducing Burna Boy at halftime. And Siakam, you did it so smooth. You did it so well. And to see you the one doing it, I was like, yes, you go, Siakam. And it was a fire halftime show. A lot of people are saying they wish they could have had that halftime show here in Toronto because it's kind of wasted on that Utah crowd. And some people are like, why are they getting this great halftime show there? And it's like some people are like, well, to piss them off. I don't know. That halftime show really was for the players in some ways. And they enjoyed it. You saw the vibe strong at halftime with Pascal getting the camcorder out once again. Him and that camcorder were like the Raptors MVPs in some ways this weekend. As far as like him just enjoying himself out there with Giannis and Bam Adebayo and other guys dancing at halftime. Hilarious stuff, Siakam. And you were so unselfish in the game. Your stat line, I got the box score for yesterday up. So we can really do what I normally do with the Raptor games with the box score. I'll do a box score autopsy for you guys. But Siakam, we'll start with him, of course, because he's our guy. We love him. 15 minutes, 6 of 8 shooting, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 12 points, a +1. Siakam, they played you a big chunk in the first quarter into the second quarter, and you didn't really play a whole lot in the second half. And it was a shame. And of course, obviously, if this guy is the coach, Joe Mazzulla, he's going to do some shit to try and set up his guy, Jason Tatum, to win the MVP. And not only that, set him up to break records for the All-Star game. I hated all that. I hated seeing Jason Tatum doing all this shit and them talking about him and talking him up. And listen, the one-on-one between him and Jaylen Brown is cool and everything, but they're characterizing it the wrong way. Jaylen Brown kicked his ass. He absolutely kicked his ass one-on-one down the court. Every time he scored on Jason Tatum, and Jason Tatum missed the other side when he was trying to score on Jaylen Brown. So Jaylen Brown beat you in the one-on-one, Jason Tatum. And it was funny. Twitter was really funny. Raptors Twitter last night when Jason won. Lots of funny off-the-cuff kind of comments about him that I am here for, you haters, because I hate him too. And some of the stuff y'all were saying was hilarious. Like one person said on Twitter that when Jason was going to win the award, he's like, "Oh, great. Now we got to see his idiot kid again." Something like that. It was kind of out of pocket and messed up, but also kind of like, yeah, his kid's kind of on blast these days, Deuce. And there's a lot of funny little Easter eggs and things that happened in the game last night. If you remember any of your favorite moments from the All-Star game yesterday, please put them in the comments and I'll read about them and we'll talk about them because there's so much little things that happen throughout the whole thing. And I don't write a list. I'm just kind of going off the top of my head from what I remember. So you guys can help me out. All right, let me see what you guys are saying. Nameless is here first. Ciao, la mia familia. Familia. Ciao, la familia. Yes, Nameless. Thank you for the Italian lesson brought to you by Andrea Bagnani, Il Mago. Let's see. Logical Raptors Fanatic is here. You go, Mike. Salute the real ones. Project Truth always. That's right. Now more than ever, Mike. Now more than ever, Project Truth. The truth about Yak. The truth about the Yak attack that's about to hit the NBA with the Raptors now. Isaac Campbell is here. I couldn't watch the regular game. Laugh out loud. Morning, fine folks. It's a weird game, Isaac. I'm gonna tell you this is the thing. They fucked up. Like seriously, this game. They were worried about it being competitive and being stupid, not being stupid, and being worthwhile. Well, it didn't happen last night. It was not worthwhile. There was too much of a lead. There was no competition. There was none of that stuff that happened a couple years ago. And they're saying it's Kyle Lowry. That Kyle Lowry taking charges in the All-Star game made it more competitive and made it fun. And that these guys just didn't pick it up like that. I in some ways, Giannis had a very specific goal, and that's to win. And he did it. And LeBron kind of rolled over and let him. I thought that LeBron constructed his team very well. I thought that Giannis was screwing up once again in the draft. But Giannis, I don't know what happened. I think Dame Lillard and Jason Tatum were really smart picks by him. And those two picks in particular were the ones that actually brought it home for him, literally. Jason Tatum getting 55 points, breaking the All-Star game scoring record over Anthony Davis. And then Dame Lillard just really being like a killer this whole weekend. He came in to win the three-point competition. He did. And, well, he was serious in the All-Star game also, Dame Lillard. Not a lot of people were serious, but he was. That was for sure. But, yeah, interesting game. It wasn't close. And when it's not close and there's no defense played, it looks like shite. Let's just put it that way. If there's not going to be any kind of competition to try and win it at the end with the Elam ending, who cares? LeBron was behind 20 points, and he needed to score 40-something to catch up to win the game. Meanwhile, the other team had to score 24. So very anticlimactic, not very competitive, just kind of guys standing around watching each other dunk. Yeah. The All-Star game is still broken. I'm sorry. The Elam ending and the different things that y'all are doing with it, it's still, we just shown that if it's close, it works. But if the game is not close, the game sucks. And yeah, the NBA All-Star weekend in a lot of ways is a big fail. There was, controversy, stupid racist controversy. Of course, they paraded Karl Malone out there last night at halftime with LeBron and Kareem. And it just is icky. It's just icky. Seriously, listen, y'all need to know we got Wikipedia. Y'all need to know that people care about stuff like what Karl Malone did at this point. Maybe back in the old days when there was no internet and people weren't as conscious of trying to be better human beings and people could sweep things under the rug and have dirty little secrets. Yeah, well, you can't anymore. It's just not that way. And Karl Malone, he's not a good representative. It's weird. This is like the first All-Star weekend they've had in Utah in 30 years. And there's a reason for that. I'm going to tell you that right now. There's a bunch of reasons. It's not the most destination kind of oriented place for the players. It's not like they really want to go there. It's not really like, the very basketball cultural kind of place. There's a lot of different things. Well, they had that come back around and do it finally again 30 years later. And unfortunately, when you do that, Karl Malone has to appear and be a part of it. So, yeah, really goofy, weird, not very good All-Star weekend. If I had, like I said, the best night was Friday night. And the reason why is the rising stars are entertaining. They're always going to be. These guys are just the young studs in the league. They really get up there. They know how to put on a show. They're goofy. They're fun. And then you got the celebrity game, which is goofy in its own way also. But the innovation of this celebrity game is interesting. And then also some of the innovation that's in the Rising Stars tournament. So the Friday night events are the best events the whole weekend. I'm sorry. The Saturday night, maybe the dunk competition is okay. The three-point shootout was kind of anticlimactic. And then, of course, the skills challenge is just trash. It needs to just be thrown out at this point. And then the All-Star game, if it's going to be like that, yeah, that's garbage. So, yeah, really bad All-Star weekend all around. They can say that Utah hosted a great All-Star weekend, but that's bullshit. That's absolute bullshit. Okay. And it'll probably be another 30 years before they get it again. Watch. Let's see. Johnny Boy Crack number 2 is here. What an elaborate first name. Now, is there a Johnny Boy Crack number 1? You guys are reminding me of like Viano 1, Viano 2, Viano 4. Oh, Viano 4 is out there against Diamond Dallas Page. Johnny Boy Crack number 2. I love the name. Let's go. Is this an all-star stream? That was awful. I turned that game off. See, Johnny Boy knows his shit. His piles of shit, and he had to turn it off in the middle of the game. As a Celtic hater, yeah, the game got worse and worse. That was very calculated, that third quarter with Jason Tatum and him scoring so much in that third quarter was making me like want to vomit. That may have been when Johnny Boy wanted to turn it off. It's like, yeah, what is this Jason Tatum show going on all of a sudden? It's like, let me put a finger down my throat real quick. I mean, that's how I felt. Seriously. It's like, damn, I can already understand what they're doing here. And then when the announcers start talking about it's the Kobe Bryant MVP award, and then like, yeah, this is totally fucking like fanboy Jason Tatum. Like, I need that Kobe Bryant award. I got to get it. I got to get it at all costs. Please, coach. Please. So they play his ass 35 minutes in an all-star game, and they go to him over and over and over again. And stuff like that. I'll look at his line real quick. He was 22 at 31. So, yeah, he got 31 shots in an all-star game. He's going to get 55 points. 10 of 18 from 3. 10 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. I'm a hater. I hate the Celtics. Fuck that shit. I really hate that it was the Jason Tatum show last night. I was hoping Lauri Markkanen or even, Mitchell, he was even tearing it up. He got 40 points last night. And I was hoping maybe he could get it, but no, it was preordained. They got to give it to Jason Tatum and bring his goofy kid out there. It's just how it is. As far as things, Siakam, great. Like I said, they have grades, and ESPN has graded our young man Siakam for the Raptors, and they have given him an A-. So listen, this is the thing. We're talking about the Raptors at All-Star Weekend in Utah. Winning, baby. Winning all around. Because both our guys got A's as far as grades from ESPN. And they're some of the toughest graders for our Raptors. We know that. But both of them got A's. And then both of them won. Their teams won in the All-Star competitions. So you go, Scottie Barnes and Team Pow, winning the Rising Stars Challenge, and then Pascal and Team Giannis winning the All-Star game. So our guys were winners this weekend, baby, and they both looked good individually in their respective competitions, and they looked unselfish. They looked like team players. They looked like guys who were out there. We saw Siakam throw a lob to Markkanen last night. That was fantastic. We saw. Listen, all right, let's talk about the next part of what we need to talk about. And this is what's got Raptors Nation going crazy this morning, is the chemistry between that young man from Hamilton or Toronto. I don't know which city he's from. They say he's from Toronto, but they say he's from Hamilton also. Mr. SGA, Mr. Shea, he got out there with Pascal and boo. they had a natural chemistry. It's kind of like going on a little date and you're like talking and you're like, oh, you like this too? Oh, I love that. Ooh, we could go to this. And like, oh my gosh, instant chemistry. Ooh, I really like you. Second date, kind of thing. And, it is very much got Raptor fans salivating and going crazy about this shit. There was all these crazy tweets after they seen SGA and Pascal. SGA throws the bat off the backboard and Siakam's behind him and he's trailing and he's throwing it down. Yeah, Raptor fans get real crazy like they did last summer, lusting, getting thirsty. Y'all need your thirst quenched for some SGA on the Raptors. Woohoo, you do. I can tell how thirsty. Y'all are so out of pocket thirsty for this Oklahoma City Thunder player. That listen, I've told y'all, you need to listen to me. Put it back in your pants because listen, we ain't getting him, not anytime soon. And we can't be so outwardly thirsty. Have some respect for yourselves, Raptor fans. We like him, of course. Yes, of course, I would love to see him in the Raptor Red someday in the NBA. But you got to wait. All good things in time, my friends, because this man's on contract with them and he ain't going nowhere from there until he's a free agent at least. So y'all give it time to allow it to go in the right way. I don't want to hear any out-of-pocket trade ideas all summer just to get SGA here. I don't want to hear that shit because he's not in our plans. And to pry him out of Oklahoma City is crazy. There's no way that Sam Presti will do it. First of all, he doesn't want to have anything to do with trading with people. He's an asshole. He's very difficult to trade with in this league. So don't get all dreamy now, because you saw a little taste in the game last night of the synergy between Siakam and Shea. Don't get all dreamy about this. Put your thirst on hold and wait until his contract at least is about to be like maybe a year from running out, because this man's got years to go in Thunderland. And we are not going to be able to trade to get him. So just chill out. Sometimes you guys block things by wanting it so bad. So let's just forget about this and revisit this in a couple years. This SGA and Siakam stuff that y'all are thirsting for so bad after last night's little taste. Woo, you guys are thirsting so bad on Twitter. It's amazing how many people on Twitter are commenting about Siakam and Shea's connection on the court last night. So many of y'all with your tongues hanging out like, just like Goofy in a cartoon who sees a pretty dog girl. He's like, wah! This is that kind of shit going on this morning with that. It's crazy. Tom Duke is in the house. Tom Dookie Duke. He is saying SiakHIM looked great spirits all weekend. He looked like he was just having a blast. Seriously, that is how you win. You go with the flow of life. He did not know he was going to All-Star until the last minute, and he still made the best of it. And I'm telling you, that camcorder is your friend, Siakam. Some people were joking about this last night. Precious. Precious is funny. Precious gets on his IG and he's posting Siakam filming everything, and he's like tagging the Open Gym producers and saying he's coming for y'all's job because he was filming so much with a camcorder this weekend. Siakam, Chua says, "Listen, y'all, you need to be worried. Siakam's doing your job and he's coming for it." Telling his friends at Open Gym, because we know last week Precious did that event for the Open Gym anniversary. So he's very good friends with those Open Gym guys that film it. In fact, it kind of tells me that Precious may have an interest in that aspect of that industry, is like documentary and filming and stuff, because he's so involved in this. And obviously he's talking to these guys, he's friends with them. But you go, Precious. I was fully expecting you to jump out on stage with Burna Boy last night. That seriously, this dude he's very good friends with Burna Boy, Precious, and he could have been in his entourage and on stage, and it would not have looked out of place if Achua had been there. Seriously, but yeah, it was a great performance. Once again, those artists were fantastic. Thames, woo, woo, woo. All right, let's see. Omari's here. Omari Parsons, what's up, freaks? Pascal played good. He really, really did. He fit in everything. Listen, the thing I love about our guys is they went and got a little bit for themselves, but they were very unselfish also at the same time. Siakam did not look like a ball hog out there, but he had lots of good dunks. He had some really cool stuff. He missed a couple things. It would have been nice if he made, but everybody had fuck ups and weird shit in that game last night. There was a lot of fun little highlights. LeBron throwing the ball off the backboard and swooping in and dunking it. This man is 40. What the hell? It's so crazy, the athleticism in him. And I was seriously, LeBron was up for this game. Like, he was so bouncy at the beginning of the game. And you could tell this is what he was feeling. You know what it was? This is exactly what LeBron was feeling at the beginning of the game. It's this feeling of like doing your fantasy draft, and then like kicking so much ass and having this roster. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to fuck him up. I'm going to fuck him up. And that's how he felt at the beginning of the game. You could tell he's so bouncy. He's like, yeah, I love my team. I love my team. I picked such a good team. That's how you could tell the energy of LeBron at the beginning of the game was. Now, listen, Giannis, you did better with your picking. And it was cool to do the whole live pick. And a lot of people were correct. They were right. The last pick was Jaren Jackson Jr., and rightfully so. In some ways, he's the all-star that is kind of like the last one. And you're kind of like, okay, Jaren Jackson Jr., really? Okay, sure. All right. And the funny thing was he wasn't an injury replacement. But yeah, he got picked last. You can hide it every which way you want to, NBA. Put them in different orders, but we know who got picked last. Jaren Jackson Jr. and Lauri Markkanen. And when Markkanen got picked at the very end, the Utah fans started cheering him, and because they felt bad for him, obviously, because he was the last pick. But yeah, he played really good too. I thought that Markkanen looked really good as the hometown hero in that game last night. Now, when they were picking guys, of course, LeBron premeditated that he would pick Drew Holiday first, but he didn't. He was like, LeBron, I'm going to trick you this time, and I'm going to take Damian Lillard. It's like, well, okay, Giannis, that's a weird, swap up. I understand. Dame Lillard's a longtime vet, and he did hit the game winner at the end of the game. But it's just a weird, Giannis was trying to be tricky, but in some ways, Giannis, you were not tricky, especially. And then 5 minutes later, he's like, I will pick Ja Morant. And then it's like, that's a starter, Giannis. That's not the rules. And oh my gosh, facepalm. I'm like, Giannis Antetokounmpo, you are an amazing basketball player, but you will never, ever, ever, ever be a front office GM. You will never be in the GM office of any NBA team ever. Ever, never. No, you should be not allowed. You should be barred. If Milwaukee in 20 years is thinking about, we should make Giannis our general manager, you guys need to not, because there's so much evidence that this man is not good at this. He really isn't. Okay, so he turns around and he picks Drew Holiday with his second pick instead. I was like, you idiot. And then when they're doing the starters, this was a big faux pas by Giannis. He goes and he has the opportunity to take Jokic. Obviously, the motherfucker took Embiid as the first starter from the other side, LeBron. And Jokic is there. You have to take Jokic if he's going to take Embiid. You just have to, Giannis. But he doesn't. He continues to just take other guys. And then finally, LeBron gets Jokic and Embiid. And I'm just like, what the hell are you doing, Giannis? This is so crazy and stupid. This is not smart drafting. The smartest thing you did in the draft was saying, I'm going to take my African brother, Pascal Siakam. And when he did it, it literally marked me out. Just like a wrestling fan, when they hear somebody say somebody's name on the microphone, I totally went, yeah, and jumped up and was so happy when Giannis picked Siakam, because obviously we did not want him to be picked last. We wanted him to be picked in a respectful way. And I feel like that happened. I really do feel like that happened. And it was cool because it all worked out that Giannis had picked Canadian guy, DeMar DeRozan. We had friends together. And DeMar and Pascal, there's footage of them hanging out back in the dressing room. And it's just fun to see the linkages of the Raptors from past and present. And just DeMar really is close with Siakam from the time they played together here. And you could see that. And yeah, just having all the same guys that you wanted to root for on the same team. Yeah, that definitely was Canada's team to root for, Team Giannis last night, with SGA and DeMar and Pascal on it. So really that was entertaining in a way, that kind of stuff. But the draft was fun. And I was looking at LeBron's starters and I'm like, holy shit, it's him, Kyrie, Luka, Jokic, and Embiid. That's his starting five. And I'm like, LeBron's starting five is crazy. Like, you've got really the MVP candidates, the top three, and then you got like Kyrie and Luka, the new Dallas synergy, and then you've got Kyrie and LeBron from that old yeah, it was crazy. Like, LeBron totally outdrafted him still, but it didn't matter because Giannis had the drive and his guys knew they had to win. So it was really, really interesting game. Crazy game. Jimmy's saying such a boring All-Star game, and Tatum getting 35 minutes and 30 plus shots pissed me off. Yeah, I was with you, Jimmy. I was totally with you. There wasn't no pub of positivity on this one. We're going to be a little bit of a Debbie Downer on this one just because whatever. Go ahead, make it the Celtics celebration show. Joe Mazzulla, it's kind of rigged. Yeah, the Boston coach is coaching it. Yeah, we see how this happens. It is what it is. I was really worried that he was going to freeze Siakam out and not even play him, that he was going to give him like 5 minutes for the whole entire game. Well, there's kind of an unspoken rule about how they do the All-Star. In some ways, these guys can kind of understand what they're going to get to play before they even go, dependent on how many All-Stars they already have. This has always been the case. If you're a first-time All-Star, expect to maybe not even play or get like 5 minutes, and that's the most. That's just how it works. And if you look at the minutes breakdown for how the guys got minutes last night, a lot of it has to do with, have you been a multiple All-Star or not? And Siakam being a second-time All-Star, he gets that tier of like in-between minutes, not really little minutes like SGA and Drew Holiday and those guys. And on LeBron's team, it would be like Jaren Jackson, De'Aaron Fox, but like mid-tier minutes because he's a two-time All-Star and he gets at least a little bit more burn because of that. But yeah, the whole Tatum show did piss me off. And every kind of snarky thing we can say about Jason Tatum this morning, let's go ahead. There's no problem with us hating on that. There's no problem with that. In some ways, people were like, the JB mask was cool. Tom Duke saying Brown versus Tatum was over the top. Love the JB mask. Yeah, this is the first game Jaylen Brown's played since Jason Tatum fractured his face. And they're making a big deal out of that. Yeah, his own teammate broke his face. Oh, okay, that's great. Is there anything underlying to that? Maybe there are things we can over-espouse on and Windhurst on and say, well, if Jason Tatum broke Jaylen Brown's face, there must be something going on with conflict between the two of them. Ooh, let's start some waves of misinformation and stupidity about that situation. Yeah, he must hate him if he broke his face. Yeah, hate him. It's Tatum. Tatum's hating him. That's right. I don't know. I could do that. That's what people try to do to us. So why the fuck would we do that to them in reverse and even call it out and say, yeah, we're full of shit, but we're showing you the bullshit that happens sometimes. But yeah, he had that Batman kind of mask. It was like the black mask is really weird when you wear those, not the clear mask. Yeah, they make me very much think like Phantom of the Opera, kind of like Dark Man kind of thing. The Phantom of the Opera, and the All-Star game is Jaylen Brown. But listen, if you were scoring that in the one-on-one, Tom, who would you say won that one-on-one between the Boston Celtics? Maybe if we had a poll ability right now, Tom, that would be our poll right now. I would have you fill that in and say, all right, who do you think in the chat? Vote for Jaylen or Jason. Who won that one-on-one between the two Celtics players last night when they took over the game and monopolized it for extra Celtics content? Fiercely Salsera is here. Good to see Scottie Barnes, Twitch family in the house. Fiercely Salsera always has fun stuff to say. Let's see what she's saying this morning. I'd love to hear her opinion on the festivities last night. Good morning, fam. The game was just okay. Annoyed it became the Tatum Mitchell show at some point, but love Pascal's presence and NBA champion introduction. Yeah, he was awesome. Like, he was so smooth. He was not nervous. And I was so pleasantly surprised to see him. I was like, what's Siakam doing? What's he doing out there with the microphone? I'm like, holy shit. And, I'm going to guess this, that the Burna boy got to pick who got to introduce him, and he picked Siakam himself. I'll bet you money that's why. I'll bet you money that's exactly why he did it. You don't think NBA would make somebody else go do it? I bet you Burna boy requested him. Because we know Burna boy is extended Raptors family, baby. That's right. I'm telling you, him and Achua are this tight. They're very, very tight. Very, very tight. But yeah, I'm with you on this. I could get behind all of your opinions on this, Fiercey. The game was just okay. In fact, it wasn't really that okay. That really was like a lot of standing around and just stupid shit. They had a game earlier in the day with all the G League guys. It was the G League All-Star game. And in the last 2 minutes, it devolved into a dunk contest where nobody did anything but stand there and watch people do really insane, crazy dunks. And it was fun, but it was also like, yeah, this is not like competitive. This is not, they're not, the score's not close and they're just fucking around and they're just standing on the court. It's like really just like, it's what is the point of this? Okay, to give a bunch of money to charity. All right, I can get behind that then. Even if it's stupid and it's dumb, but it's going to a good cause and a lot of money went to good causes. All right, let them have their stupid dumb dog and pony show. It's really dumb though. But yeah, I became more and more annoyed more and more when the people I saw that were stepping up into the narrative. In some ways, I almost wanted LeBron's team to win just to not have Jason get that. And I guess on the other side, it probably would have been Kyrie or maybe Jaylen Brown. See, they were orchestrating it so that one of the Celtics would get it on either side in some ways. Maybe no, Embiid, they wouldn't give it to Embiid. He had 32 points. He did hit some threes. I don't know. I don't even want to do 3 stars of the game because I know who I'll have to say, and I'm not even going to say it then. So we'll say the 3 stars of the game are Pascal Siakam, DeMar DeRozan, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Those are the Raptor Freaks 3 stars for the game. Pascal, DeMar, and SGA. There you go. Yeah, we'll just pick our guys. All right, let's keep going. Johnny's saying this. This is his second comment. Let's see what Johnny Boy Cracks number 2. His second comment is, it's aggravating when I see Ja doing fancy dunks. Why can't he do that in the dunk contest? Do you think LeBron never participating in the contest set a bad precedent for the future young superstars? I love this, Johnny. You're new in the chat, but this is fantastic questions. And I hope you'll come back every morning, 9:30. We talk about everything that's going on in the world, the NBA, that relates to the Raptors. This is always very Raptor-centric and positive for the team. So if you love the Raptors and you want to talk about basketball every day, live, 9:30 every day, we will be here. Tomorrow we're playing trivia, so you guys be ready for that. Yeah, I want to break this down and tell you, yeah, it is aggravating to see him do that stuff. It's amazing what he can do. And in some ways, the NBA has an opportunity with this Mac McClung guy saying he's coming back next year to really build a storyline like a wrestling show would. As far as like, listen, this is the champion, Mac McClung, and we need somebody to step up and take on the champion. Who will it be? Could it be John Morant? I don't know. And it should be maybe. But I think you're right. What you're saying in your question is probably exactly why a lot of these guys don't do it. They've seen a big, huge role model. The number one guy, the leading scorer all time in the NBA, LeBron James, never did it. He refused it every time. And they're like, he is a role model. And he is somebody that they look up to and want to follow in his path. Well, that path doesn't go down that road into that contest. Well, a lot of them are deciding not to. And Anthony Edwards was caught on tape last night talking to 3D Dennis Scott saying, I will never do this competition. He said it too last night. And it doesn't help the NBA in any kind of way that these guys are so outspoken about not doing it. In some ways, I don't care. Let it die. But in other ways, I'm like, yeah, I wish these guys would do the contest because they would really make it good as far as things. Shaedon Sharpe backing out the last minute was not good for it. Really, really wasn't. And, guys like John Morant and Anthony Edwards and even our guy Precious, they should be doing this dunk contest because honestly, it helps the sport. And I guess there's no incentive. Like, all right, if they offered those 4 greats back in the day, Vince Carter said on his podcast, they came to him, McGrady, Bryant, and James, those 4, and said, we will give each of you $1 million if y'all compete in this dunk contest. And they did not do it. So even $1 million isn't enough to entice these guys who make so many millions of dollars on their salary. So how the fuck do you entice them to come out there and have the possibility of, first of all, you're going into a field of 4 or 8 or how many they have, 6 every year. There's only one winner. So everybody else is going to look bad and not win. And in some ways, you can do more to ruin your reputation than help it in the dunk competition. You really can. You can go ask Jericho Sims that after the Saturday night. You can go ask Trey Murphy. And that's really what they're afraid of. It's like, this is silly. It's not, you don't have to do it. It's not mandatory. Well, if it could hurt me, then why would I fucking do it? And I think that's a lot of what it is that, they see John Collins put a model plane around him and act like he's a plane, and then it crumbles and crashes and burns. And now they know all the jokes about him and the memes. You don't want to be a meme like Jericho Sims today with that ripped up 50 on a piece of paper when he didn't get a 50. It's a joke. So, yeah, I can understand why these guys don't want to do it. And you're exactly right. LeBron James is an influence and reason why. For sure, for sure. In some ways it was bad. Like, maybe the NBA needs to have, like, listen, you guys want to be top quality NBA superstars? We will push you if you do the dunk contest at least once in your career. It should be like Kobe came in and did it once at least. Vince did it. Everybody should do it at least once. And then that's it. You don't have to do it ever again. You did it once. Okay, good. And get it done while you're young. And that way, you don't have to worry about it later. But yeah, it's a big fail and it's a big problem when you're obviously your best dunkers in the league are not involved in this slam dunk competition. And John Morant, first of all, they're coming at him and he's not going to do it. He's already said over and over again, he will never do the dunk competition. And Anthony Edwards is like him also. So yeah, it's a big problem. And I'm with you like that. I'm with you on this, Johnny boy. But in some ways also, I'm like, well, you know what? This competition's stupid. The format isn't worked out exactly right. People have looked really bad doing it. And in some ways, it's your own damn fault, NBA, for not tightening up and doing the dunk competition like you used to when Gatorade sponsored it and Michael Jeffrey Jordan was involved. So Logical saying Lowry made that All-Star game special. It really is the Lowry factor. Maybe they needed to have Lowry as an All-Star last night just to cause it to be more competitive. Because once Lowry put his on his ass from a charge, yeah, that's showing that the game matters. It really matters. And I don't remember anybody else taking charges like that, or people, there was a little bit of defense at times. LeBron tried to block Pascal's shot at one point, but he hurt his finger on the rim instead. That's what you get, LeBron, for trying to play defense in an all-star game. You get a bent back pinky. Oh, that was good. Jimmy saying Nick had them running actual defensive sets when he coached the all-star game. See, that's the thing. Sometimes it is a coach. I don't know. It's a sham. And it's funny that Nicola's like, yeah, I don't care if I got drafted high in this game because this game is not for me. I'm a professional. I'm serious. I'm not here for a stupid show like this. I'm here to win. I don't know. My coach is here, and he won't even make me be embarrassed so much to force me to play too much or put me on the court too much because he's protecting me too, Michael Malone. But yeah, it was a really, I don't know. I wish it's weird because they thought they had the winning formula now for this game to make it fun and competitive every year, but they don't, obviously. That they had a fail last night. And in some ways, the Elam ending, everybody's championing it and saying it's so great. Honestly, I've seen so many different Elam ending outcomes recently that are way less inspiring or interesting than like the normal shot clock run out kind of endings in games. We saw a CBL game earlier this year that was finished by a free throw. And that's so anticlimactic. And then you have games that aren't even close. If the target score is 24 points for one team and it's like 40 points for the other, yeah, it's anticlimactic. The Elam ending is not the end-all, fix-all for excitement, honestly. And in some ways, I'm very down on it. I don't like it totally. And I don't think that it has any place in the real game in the long run. They can fiddle around with it on lower levels, but there's flaws with it. There's huge flaws with it. And they can tout it and say, oh, it's such a great idea and stuff, but you guys are practicing it more and more, and it's having flaws. It seriously has flaws. And I think that the way we do things with the clock and the shot clock and running it down, that's better in a lot of ways. Because in some ways you have 5 minutes to go or 2 minutes to go in the game. You got to figure out the amount of possessions you got and how many times down the court and how many stops you got to get. And sometimes teams get a little bit more competitive earlier in the fourth quarter than with the Elam ending. So I'm going to make a counter argument that the Elam ending is not good for the game, and that with the shot clock and the clock running out and the drama of that is more competitive and interesting and fun, the way we've always done it. So maybe the Elam ending needs to get dialed down a little bit more after yesterday's fail. It's fine for all-star games. It's fine for a G League. It's fine for stuff. But don't ever bring it up on the main level and try and make it mainstream NBA. It doesn't work. And in some ways, you may make the game worse because you did that. Yeah, it's crazy. Shere Khan's here. Love to see Shere Khan, one of my favorite new Raptor freaks. Tatum is way overrated. Lots of push-offs not called as offensive fouls. Good shooter and finisher, but that's about it. Spider Mitch has game, so okay with that. Pascal doing his thing. Yeah, I love the breakdown here by Shere Khan. This is true. Tatum does do a lot of pushing off to get open. It is so true, and I'm glad you're calling him out for that. Let's look at Spider Mitchell real quick. Since you brought him up, Mitchell got 30 minutes, so he did get a good amount of burn. 15 at 25 from the field, 8 to 17 from 3, 4 rebounds, 10 assists, 3 steals, 40 points. So he had a double-double and a +8. Yeah, he really was, once again, like Tatum, everything in the third quarter. Those guys basically did everything in that third quarter for that team, and they shut everybody else out. It's almost like that was calculated. That is like, oh, we want to have some high profile MVP candidates. Well, you manufacture them in the third quarter by putting the ball in their hand over and over again. But yeah, Pascal doing his thing and with the smile and a camcorder. Yeah, Pascal was a big winner this weekend. Seriously, because in some ways, like, you know what he did? Listen, I'm going to get on a deep level with Siakam right now, real quick. Listen, the season he's had has been difficult. The season's worn him down. We've lost a lot. We've heard a lot of bullshit. We've gone through the fire, and we've gotten through it still intact, considering we didn't do anything at the trade deadline, and everybody wanted us to. This has been a hard season for Siakam. It may be a very good season for him individually, stat-wise, 52 at the Garden, things like that. But this has been a hard season, and he went to that break, and he really utilized it as a good health and mental break. As far as let's just go and have fun and not give a shit. And I want to show the NBA that I'm not depressed. I'm not sad. The Raptors have good vibes. I'm here with my young Scott Wayne Barnes, my good friend. We're palling around. We're both having a good time, and things are happy. And we're optimistic, and we're happy about the chances of our team with a big Austrian guy back with us. So I really think that in some ways the attitude and the presence of Siakam and being so carefree, smiley, happy, genuinely having a good time, it really epitomizes the struggle that we've gone through, and we're still smiling. We're still happy. We're still having a good time, and we're ready to kick some major ass for the rest of the season. I cannot wait for Thursday and the New Orleans Pelicans coming here to Toronto to play at the Scotiabank Arena. I want to see more yak. I want to see more of that synergy discovered once again between him and Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam. But yeah, the temperament and the mood Pascal Siakam is a very bold statement for the rest of the NBA to show, look, the Raptors are not upset, sad, or unhappy. They're very much a happy, fun guy kind of team. And they are here to have a good time, and they're going to make a good time. Watch. Yeah, they did. That's for sure. Isaac's saying there was like 1,000 combined points and only 3 blocks total between two teams. Rest in peace, defense in the NBA. Well, Isaac, we know this is not a real game in any kind of way, and it never has really been that way in some ways. I mean, it was an illusion of competitiveness before. The players would take it a little more seriously. But these guys, in some ways, they really maybe I don't know if the NBA needs to train these guys or what they need to do to make this a little bit more incentivized. In fact, the thing that was weird to me last night is usually in that game, LeBron is very much trying to close out quarters and win the money for his charity. And he did not try to do that last night. They very much rolled over and let Giannis win most of the charity money for his charity. And that is somewhere where the competitiveness can be derived. Is like, we want to give that money to big brothers and big sisters of Utah. And they're like, no, we want to give it to this Field of Future, charity. It's like, that's where the competitive drive should be coming from. You're trying to raise money for them kids, LeBron. So why are you rolling over and dying at the end of quarters and not making it competitive to try and win that money right at the end? Because in some ways, the end of the first quarter, the end of the second, the end of the third is all building different little climaxes to build up to the real big one at the end. And when the little first one at the end of the first quarter is kind of like, okay, they don't care, or it's a tie. It was a tie actually in the first quarter. They ended up tying. So they split the money right out in the middle. That's a little, okay, I understand. That's kind of a build. Second quarter, it didn't seem like they were trying at all to catch up with them, and they just let them win. So that's part of where the competitive spirit needs to be garnered, is from the will to get more money for your charity. And you guys didn't care about that enough last night. Obviously, you're more caring about this and this. I saw one really funny play when Bam Adebayo uh, inbounded the ball off the back of Nikola Jokic, and then Jokic noticed what he did, and he got really upset, and he just stole the ball from him. So good. It's so good. And then, of course, they had some of the players mic'd up again last night, and Luka himself was just hilarious. Oh my gosh. There was at one point where Ja Morant threw down a crazy ass dunk, and Luka said, "Yeah, I can do that too, but they don't let me." You liar. You cannot do that, Luka. And it was so funny when he said that to Ja. He was like, "I can do that too, but they don't let me." There were some pure jokes in that game. There's some good stuff in that game too, even though it was so stupid too. Logical saying Nick's been an all-star head coach like tons of times in other leagues where he has was a high-level winning coach and has all-star game sets for those type of guys from being in the position a lot, in my opinion. That's interesting. So Nick Nurse is like Mac McClung for the dunk contest. He's like, I've done a lot of levels of all-star games, the British League, the G League, the D League, and college, over here in like this place that I was at in the middle of nowhere in the world. Yeah, Nick Nurse has done a lot of different all-star games because Mike knows from his research of his path of his career. So that's interesting to know. And in some ways, there's a parallel to the dunk champion this weekend because he was a dunk champion from high school. He's won a whole bunch of dunk competitions at other levels himself. In fact, in some ways, listen, Mac McClung is not a good NBA player. He's a professional dunk contest person, just so you all know. So Philly fans, don't get all into like, oh, he's going to come and be so good for the Sixers. It's not going to happen. He's just, in some ways, he's a trophy. You guys are going to have a little dunk competition guy that runs around, looks like he's 12 years old, that's going to be around your team for the rest of the year since you got him on a two-way, and he's going to be staying with y'all now on the big team. Yeah, no more blue coats for you, really, Mac, at this point. You're up with the big team and Joel. Mari's saying, Jelly Black gave me chills listening to the Canadian national anthem. Wow. Yeah, that was really good. I'd love to see the red and white across the whole building. Nav had a really nice post of that moment. And did you catch what she said with the lyric? Our home on native land. She said on native land. Not and late native land, on native land. And that is a powerful statement by her at that game in Utah, because that is home on native land also in Utah. So, yeah, very powerful anthems. I thought both of them were sensational. I was like a little, what I do, many people know on this stream that when they do the anthems, that's usually when I'm getting my pregame smoke in the back door. And I kind of just listened to it from away. And I heard her singing the Canadian anthem, and she would pause so much in between songs. I was like, well, if she's going to sing it like this, it's going to take 5 minutes, because it was really much kind of like our home and native, our home on native land. I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a long anthem. She's singing like that, but she did a really good job. And it was emotionally inspiring. And it made us look good. And some idiots are like, why are they singing the Canadian anthem at the All-Star? I'm like, well, there's a couple of things we could tell you for reasons why. But yeah, she did a really good job. And then, oh my gosh, seriously, like, listen, this is an amazing artist that has been around forever, Jewel. Jewel doing the American anthem was fantastic. Her voice is still just as good as it used to be when she sang that song Hands and all that stuff back in the day, like in the 90s. Jewel was real big. Well, she can still sing, and she had that fire outfit. Of course, she wasn't wearing a Raptors anything on that uniform. I looked for it. Maybe it was on her back. But yeah, she sang that such a beautiful rendition. And you know that Jewel has practiced singing the American anthem a lot, because she really knows how to sing it in her way and really kill it. Like, she is such a talent. And that blew me away too. And you could tell she touched a lot of people with her rendition of the American anthem also. So really good picks to do the anthems. At least you got that right, NBA, this weekend with that. Holy crap, they were good. They were real good. I'm a fun guy saying, let's bring that All-Star win in from All-Star back here to start against the Pelicans, baby. Yeah, fun guy. Let's put it in a little bottle. Let's get it all caught up in here. Bring it back. We're bringing it back. Oh, here you go, Precious. Oh, okay, this is some all-star winning. I'm ready to go out there and be ferocious at you and throw it down on them hoes. Yeah. Yeah, it'll be a good test. Zion is hurt, and we'll be ready for them Pelicans. We know we got two new BFFs between Jose and Scottie. That'll be fun. Maybe there'll be a little extra shit talking between Alvarado and Barnes on Thursday night, just from their newfound friendship from this weekend. They really did bond fast. And I think these guys are going to be best friends to go forward in this NBA land as far as things. And those guys really did bond this weekend. It was pretty cool. Yeah, I want to beat the Pelicans' ass on Thursday. Let's bring on the Pelicans. Come on, just bring it, jabroni. Yeah, Clink is here. Good to see Clink. Greg is in the house. Yeah, I watched your clip that you dropped this weekend on Saturday yesterday, finally, Greg. Good stuff. Check out the Gubstown Clink. He's always got very informational information. And yeah, there's all kinds of fun bells and whistles on his latest video. And I appear in it a little bit too. My goofy ass singing a Dirty Dancing. Now I had the time of my life at Utah All-Star game. No, I didn't. Okay, Greg saying, laugh out loud, goofy kid. Lex, the Celtics stuff has you dragging baby Tatum into the mix. SGA and P would be nice future. Presti won't move Shea, though. Yeah. I know I shouldn't target children, but you know what? Deuce is being put on blast, so he's a target. You gonna put your kids on blast in public? Well, Julius Randle, you're gonna get your kid in a meme. Yeah, he's gonna be, my daddy can't shoot threes. Well, you're gonna put your kids on blast. Well, they may get memed. That's just the way the world works at this point. You're going to put your kids on blast? That's how it is. And, there's this weird clip that's all over the place with the NBA with Deuce getting absconded or abducted by Draymond Green. He comes up behind him, and I remember seeing this in the game when it happened. And I'm like, what the fuck is Draymond doing to Jason Tatum's kid? He comes up behind him and he takes a towel and he puts it over his head like he's snatching him, kidnapping him. And then he picks him up and flips him upside down and flips him back up. And then he pulls the towel off his head and he said, it's Uncle Draymond. Look at me, Deuce. And so Deuce is getting a little bit put on blast right now. So, and I'm not saying he's fair game, but he is a goofy looking little kid in some ways. And I am a Celtics hater, Greg. So listen, if it was a Raptor putting his kid on blast like this, I'm sure Celtics fans would be coming after him just like this. I'll be fair. He is a child. You're right, Greg. I should not do this. He should be off limits. Well, he's on TV all the time. I really want to say mean things. Come on, Greg. Don't be so. I want to be mean. Yeah, but Greg's agreeing with me. Presti will not move Shea. No, he won't. It's like he doesn't want to move guys that he doesn't like. Why would he move the guy he likes? Yeah. Nameless is saying, bro, we got Fred VanVleet. Never mind SGA. See, this is the right attitude. Seriously, this is the right attitude. And this is part of the reason why people slander Fred. Is like, oh, well, we should hate Fred so that we can pressure them to get SGA. That's not how it works, you idiots. We have Fred. Fred's our guy. And SGA is their guy. And until y'all figure that out, and that you can't just magically make it happen because you trade deadline, trade machine on ESPN or your NBA 2K23 roster and switching things around. Yeah, it's easy on there, motherfucker, but you're not dealing with Sam Presti, motherfucker. So yeah, you got Fred. He's your starting point guard, and he can do a lot of that same kind of stuff with Pascal, just like Shea does too. So yeah, all right, Raptor fans, chill out on your thirst for Mr. SGA. Seriously, we got Mr. FVV. And he is a fantastic player, and y'all need to stop sullying that man and give him his respect. All right, Shirkan saying the start of the draft was more fun than the game itself. Other than Scottie and Pascal showing up, Max stealing the show, and Dame hitting 2 of 2 from starry range, Allstar has been a big dud in Utah. Great breakdown. Shirkan really hitting like the points that I really enjoyed also. I mean, obviously, we're going to love what our Raptors did. They did really good. They represented us right. They had a good time. We saw Scottie on TikTok, or not TikTok, on Instagram last night after the game showing he's on the jet, and he's saying great All-Star weekend. And I don't know where he's on his way to. He's probably on his way to somewhere warm and a beach. But yeah, Scottie Guest stayed the whole weekend because he left last night. And, that's the thing. They had a good time. They represented our team well. and they did well. And that's all I can ask for. In fact, I am actually beyond the moon with what Siakam did and how, like I said, he was out there having just a blast. And that is really good. Like, you don't see every single one of those guys out there having a good time. Some of them are kind of like, but Siakam really did make the best of the time out there. To me, Mac was good, sure, of course, but that was all storyline built. They wanted that to happen, and in some ways, it's very manufactured. But the 3-point shootout, I'll say, all right, Dame Lillard winning it was very impressive and fun for me because I could tell he really wanted it, and in some ways, that is kind of like really fun to see somebody like go into the locker room and say, guys, I'm winning this tonight. You're not going to win. And then he did it. It's very Jordan-like, kind of Kobe-like. But then I want to not gloss over what Tyrese Halliburton did in the first round of that 3-point shootout either. That was really sensational, that 31 points that he put in the first round. And in some ways, I found that just as impressive as Dame Lillard winning the whole thing, is that Halliburton went out there and made sure that charity money was going to be spent right away with his first time out there. And that was very calculated and awesome. And to me, that he needs to get more shine for that also. That he really did do a good job at that. It's weird that they changed that drink to Starry. I think that drink was Sierra Mist, right? It's the same drink. It's the same company. It's just they did a rebrand from Sierra Mist to a drink called Starry. And now the event's called the Starry 3-point shootout, which is a weird kind of sound to it. I guess it's kind of cool. And they have new ad campaign and stuff. But that, just so you know, that's where Starry came from. It's actually Sierra Mist in a rebrand. Let's see. Cool Cat is here. Good morning, Raptor Free crew. Pascal and Scottie came out as winners from All-Star. They were amazing representing the Raptors. Pascal's camcorder was a hit with the U.S. media. Both bode well for future votes. Yes, fire, fire, fire. Yes, Cool Cat. We can be so proud. This was a good All-Star weekend for the Raptors, and really, really proud of our guys representing us right in Utah. And yeah, I feel like we got some good inertia going in to the last part of the season, and we're gonna have some winning vibes. And these guys had a lot of fun, and it was good too to see the other Raptors away and not involved in this, putting Pascal on blast with his camcorder on their Instagrams and different places. And yeah, really celebrating things for those guys there, Scottie and Pascal. Really good stuff. Johnny Boy Crack number 2 is saying, in 2004, when Malone played for the Lakers, he was out with injury this one game. So while Kobe was playing during the game, Karl tried hitting on his wife. It was a pretty big story at the time. Yeah, this is part of the thing. NBA, if you're going to drag old Karl Malone's WCW ass out there for all of us to see him, well, we can revisit some of his stellar moments. Bomani Jones is an amazing journalist. In some ways, he's one of the ESPN heads that I respect the most because he's a real one, and he's very, very, very politically minded. And he was talking about Karl Malone this weekend, and he basically said it like this, and I love him for it. Bomani, you are a guy I like, actually, from all those ESPN idiots. What he said was this: I've always hated Karl Malone, but I never had really a good reason other than he threw really like bad elbows at everybody and would injure people. That is very true. Karl Malone was a super dirty player, and so was John Stockton. Both of them were very dirty. John Stockton would be hitting people in screens and behind people's backs. And of course, Karl Malone had these really sharp, jagged elbows, and he was in the post. He'd do spins, and he didn't care where your head was. He would knock people in the face and draw blood all the time. So Bomani said, I used to hate him for no good reason other than he was a dirty player and hit people with elbows. But then when I found out about him with his past with his children, then I had a real good reason not to like him. So you put him in front of us, NBA, we'll do a little research. We all have computers and Wikipedia, and we can go read about Karl Malone. So you just introduced a whole bunch of young children to Karl Malone. And you know what? They're getting introduced to him not as a legend to be honored, but as a creepy old man. Because this is true. He did all kinds of creepy stuff with Vanessa Bryant as far as sending inappropriate messages. And also when they finally got together, they were in a room together apparently by themselves for the first time. Karl made overtures towards her that they should cheat on their spouses behind their backs and nobody has to know. This is what he was doing. This is Kobe Bryant's wife. And they were teammates at the time on the Lakers. Yeah, that's how you have a dumpster fire for sure on your team. So yeah, he's really tone deaf. And you can tell the man's an ultimate narcissist because much like The Rock, he has always been somebody who's referred to himself in the third person. It's like when they did interviews with Karl Malone back in the day, they would ask him, "So Karl, what are you going to do this summer?" Karl Malone's going to get in his semi and drive all summer. Karl Malone's going to go across the country in his big rig. That's what Karl Malone's going to do. That's how he would answer questions in interviews. He always put his name in there and spoke from the third person. So he's a really weird character. He really, really is. He's very country. He does own a big semi truck and he does like driving it around all over the place. He's given a lot of money to Republican politicians and donating to their campaigns over the years. And yeah, then we can get into the whole other aspect of him having a 12-year-old girlfriend when he was 20 years old as a freshman at Louisiana Tech. Yeah. And then impregnating her, and then like coming to visit the baby at the hospital, who ended up becoming a NBA player. I think Demetrius Bell or something his name, and he came and visited the baby in the hospital when he was first born and never came back again, never talked to them again, and refused to admit that that was his child. Well, why the fuck were you at the hospital when the baby was born then, dude? And why the fuck was the mother 13 years old? Seriously. And listen, he did shitty shit like this. Like Bell got older and he's in the NFL and they finally meet each other. And he tells him, he's like, it's too late for me to be your dad. I can't pick this up and go on forward with this. It's just too late. You don't get me as your father. I'm sorry. And meanwhile, this dude has a wife who's a beauty pageant queen in Utah, and they have a bunch of kids that he is being a dad towards. I'm telling you, he's a scumbag. He's a fuck. He's a creep. He's all the things that he's being said that he is this weekend. And shame on you, NBA, for bringing him out there. You saw how uncomfortable Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was standing out there with him and LeBron at halftime last night. Yeah, he didn't want to have anything to do with Karl Malone because Kareem knows, and he's smart to it. Yeah, don't have another All-Star game for another 30 years, and maybe you won't have to have Karl Malone show up. Watch. Seriously, who knows? I don't know. I'm not going to wish for his death or anything, but that's something y'all got to really consider, is that this is day and age is like, this isn't going to fly. This dude had sex with a 12-year-old and she had a baby. So yeah, pretty bad shit about him. I'll air his dirty laundry all over the place. And you go, Bomani Jones, once again, for saying it right and saying it on national television. Let's see. Logical saying Precious was also in Africa with Masai during the summer. I'm guessing that footage comes around at some point. I've seen that footage, Mike. I watched it last summer when it happened. Precious put it on blast on his Instagram. That's when I saw it. A lot of it was like he had his own camp in Nigeria, and then he did go and do like Giants of Africa stuff with Masai when he was over there also. But Precious was really very much involved in his own camp in Nigeria. And that was where he put on his own dunk competition himself, by himself. He threw some of the craziest dunks down. In fact, some of those dunks he did in Nigeria last summer would have been really good dunks in the competition on Saturday night. But yeah, I saw a lot of that footage. It's out there. I don't know if you can go back and find it through his Instagram. But yeah, if you go and look at Precious's Instagram around last summer, you may find some clips still in his account. Let's see. Evelyn's here. Good to see Evelyn. Good morning, fam. Happy Family Day. In my opinion, 2016 NBA All-Star Game was still one of the best. A lot of people are saying that, and not even just the Raptor fans. A lot of people are saying Toronto just does it right, and some people were saying, well, we need to do it every year, like the Pro Bowl is in Hawaii every year. Yeah, that will never fly. First of all, we know what it's like in February in Toronto, and the time when we had that, it was the worst as far as weather-wise. So these guys want a break. They don't want to go somewhere where it's minus 20 sometimes. So in some ways that works against us. And I hate to say that, but it's just the damn truth that All-Star happens to happen around usually some of the worst weather in Toronto. So I wish that we could have it more often and we'll get our fair share. And especially because 2016 did go so well, I'm sure we will get another NBA All-Star in the next 10 years. And we'll get one way before Utah gets another one. That's for sure. Tom Duke is saying Giannis was either thinking about Shea or I like to think he was trolling Ja. That could be right. I thought about that in a moment too, Thomas. Like maybe he got them confused like a lot of people do. Some people get Ja Morant and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander confused. And that might have been part of it. It was like he wanted to take SGA, and he did take him eventually when he corrected himself, but he was getting ahead of himself. And boy, did he look embarrassed. Like, honestly, he did look real stupid in that moment. And LeBron really kind of like didn't help. And like the way the announcers and the way they treated it didn't really help either. But he did it with grace, and he came back from it. And good job, Jonas. It's just like an NBA game. You're gonna have turnovers. You're gonna have fuck ups, and you may look bad for a second, but move on. Have a short memory. I want to pick Ja, and everybody's making fun of him because he had a little notepad and a pen for like, well, you have a notepad. You should know this. It should be written in there. Who's the starters and the reserves? Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's like, well, he's having a good time. He's the host of the All-Star Weekend, obviously, because he's there at every fucking event. And another thing I just want to mention that I just remembered is that whole part with Shaq, Kenny, and Charles when they were sitting during the draft. At the beginning of the draft, they were just talking over it the whole time, and it was really annoying. Like, TNT, what the fuck were you doing at that moment? Like, don't have them talking while they're trying to talk about the draft and explain it. It really pissed a lot of people off because it's really hard if all people are talking at once to like understand any of it. It's garbage TV. So whatever y'all were doing with the mics with Charles and Shaq and Kenny at the beginning of the draft was really stupid. I don't understand. If they needed to talk, they needed to not talk when Ernie Johnson was talking up there and doing the draft. That talking over each other is really not good audio. Not good audio at all. But when they had their little chance to talk, Shaq accused Charles of being drunk. And there's a really crazy exchange in that whole moment. Because basically they gave Charles a microphone with a delay on it. And as soon as he talked into it, he's like, whoa, this is weird. And so when he was talking into it, he was talking weird. And Shaq accused him of being drunk. And Charles got kind of upset about that. It was a really weird, awkward little moment. And like they started saying, this is brought to you by Patron. And that, like, it was funny. But also, I felt bad for Charles. And once again, this is just Shaq bullying people once again and just being an asshole. He can get away with it to a degree because it's part of his character and it's part of the dynamic of that inside the NBA crew. But in some ways, it really is just bullying. And I felt bad for him, especially, for me being an alcoholic and that kind of shaming and stuff. You know what? In some ways, that smacked of like the old angle where they had Jerry Lawler throwing alcohol in Jake the Snake Roberts' face on Raw. When Roberts was very well known for being an alcoholic and having alcohol problems. Well, Vince exploited that by having Jerry Lawler come at him with alcohol in their matches and like try and pour it down his throat is very, very poor taste. And for people like me that have problems with alcohol, we don't really appreciate joking around about alcohol problems in some ways, Shaq, just so you know. It was uncomfortable, but in some ways it was okay. And once again, Charles is the butt of the joke, and he's good at taking it, but you could tell he was really pissed at Shaq for being like that on the air and saying that to him in particular. Really, really pissed at him. You could tell. Seriously, you could tell he was very pissed at him. Cool Cat saying, love that Team Giannis won. He chose youth and speed, and Pascal was the first big of the reserve, his African reserve. His African brother. I was like, when he said that, I was like, is he going to pick Siakam here? I was like, yes. And I really did. I got loud. I cheered. I was like, yes, yes. When that happened, when he got picked, I really was like that. It was cool. Yeah, there was a different style to the two teams. The Giannis team was smaller and quicker and maybe a little more youthful. And the LeBron team was more vet and bigger. If you got Embiid and Jokic on the same team, and then like the big man on Giannis's team was, Bam and Domantas Sabonis. It's a little bit of a mismatch in some ways, but this is what my fear was on Friday night with the teams that were drafted for the Rising Stars Challenge, that I thought Deron Williams' team was very overloaded with size and they would dominate. And then I also thought that about LeBron, but that doesn't translate to the All-Star weekend. You can get the biggest guys, but they're lazy and they want, Jokic is not out there trying. It doesn't matter if you get them. So in some ways, it is smart to draft skilled, fast, baller kind of scorer kind of guys like Ja Morant and, who was it? Jaden Ivey or Ben Mathurin or Scottie Barnes, stuff like that. So the drafting strategies of Pau Gasol and Giannis actually did work out to get wins. So I like that. I like that a lot. And I like that our teams won. That's right. Logical saying Tom Duke definitely dreaming about coaching grades. Nick has his dream team in his dreams. Nick dreams too. Nick kind of gets to coach a dream team. That's Team Canada. And in some ways, that's a really fun team for him to mess around with as far as the great talents of Canada. and there. So I would say, in some ways, if Nick's not coaching the All-Star game again at some point in the near future, hopefully next year, because he has the number one record in the Eastern Conference, and he gets to coach the All-Star game next year. I'd love that, because that means we're at the top of the conference. But he gets to coach the Team Canada team, and in some ways, that's an All-Star team, and that's pretty fun. Let's see. La 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 la. Lots of comments, and I love to see so many different people here on this family day. Lots of people off today and able to do what they want to do. Enjoy your day. Let's see. Jimmy's saying my take has changed to Kyle Lowry saved the All-Star game. Dude took 2 charges in the fourth quarter, and no one knew how to respond to it other than just having to out Lowry Kyle Lowry. Facts. Fred Katz. That's Fred Katz. That's a quote that Jimmy's putting forward there. Yeah, some people are saying this, that like the X factor for why that All-Star game was so good was the competitiveness of Kyle Lowry and the willingness to take charges in a game that doesn't matter. It is really a very specific thing for one individual, and that is our good friend, the GROAT, Kyle Lowry. So yeah, I think that they realized that maybe that's why it was because of Kyle. Isaac saying at Amari, that was special. Canadian anthem was the highlight of the night for Isaac. That was the highlight of the night to him. They didn't do bad at all. And honestly, that is one of the most important anthems of the whole year, is the All-Star game anthem, because it's usually star packed, and they should be putting special into it, like making it really special. And her rendition was fantastic. Honestly, both of them were really good. Really, really good. And I don't like the U.S. anthem very often, most of the time, with the person who sings it. But Jewel did fantastic. She really did fantastic last night. Let's see. G saying they need to give points for defense, steals, and blocks. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they got to just do it the way they do it. I mean, we all know and we see this kind of stuff, but you're thinking if they do that, maybe that'll incentivize people to play more defense. I think they just need to, what? Maybe it's the coaches. Maybe they need to be taking the bull by the horns a little bit more and saying, listen, like Michael Malone comes in there and he said, listen, I'm a respected coach in this league and I have morals and standards that I like to hold as a basketball player. It's against my Hippocratic oath as a coach to coach a game where you guys are not playing with the fundamental basics of competitiveness. So I will not stand for this. And maybe they need to be hard asses and be like, you know what, you need to try. And maybe they need to be like this. Maybe they need to be like Nick Nurse and say, you're not playing if you're not trying. And if he sees somebody out there that's not playing defense, you take them out and you put in the guys on the bench that are going to play. Maybe that's what they need to do with the All-Star game, is start coaching it like they're real teams and saying you get playing time for effort and playing defense. And if you don't do that, then you don't get to play. It could be the powers in the hands of the coach, just like it always should have been. Now, this could spawn all kinds of controversy and interesting, weird shit between people, feuds. But also, it would be a really easy way to incentivize trying harder on defense in the All-Star game. Make the coach them and say, yeah, you're not playing. It's like, if you're not going to play defense, Jason Tatum, well, you're not going to get 35 minutes to try and get 55 points and be the MVP. So that could be really how they balance it, is it's in the coach's hands. And some of the players may not like the coach that's their coach because it's a division rival or something like that. But that's the way it is. You have to listen to your coach. And, guys like Scottie and Pascal would show up and listen to their coaches no matter who they are. Well, some of the other guys, if they don't do it, well, they don't fucking get to play. And that's just how you do it. I think that's a solution that would work, is put it in the coach's hands to incentivize effort and defense, or you don't play. And it's basically like what Nick Nurse does with our team. You don't play, Chris, if you're not crashing the boards and playing the right defense, Boucher. You sit on the bench. It's the same philosophy in the All-Star game. You can do that, coaches, if they let them have the power, but their nuts are chopped off. They're just basically standing there in a suit in a reward for having the highest record in their conference. So, yes, Nameless is saying, even in the All-Star game, Boston is spoon-fed and handheld. Exactly. And Tom Dugan's got the Shamrocks and the Queasy throwing up faces. And it is exactly right. Facepalm from Nameless. This is true. This is so true. I mean, the league could not suck the Leprechaun's cock any more than it does. It seriously does. Like, seriously, this is not a for children's stream, just so y'all know. This is very adult. But I'm just saying, it's like somebody made the joke, like I think it was Marcus Smart saying the league fillets certain people. Well, they fillet your team, Marcus Smart. They really, really do. They are so in love with you, and they will speak your legend up and all kinds of crazy propaganda on NBA TV 24/7. I'm watching these odds guys before the whole event starts last night. These four guys, they're not fucking experts on basketball. They're just some greaseballs that talk about betting and odds and shit like that. I take nothing from what they say as being same, but they're handicapping the MVP race, who's going to win this, who's going to win that, and they're just talking about the odds and stuff. And everything is so like what you're saying with Boston. It's just so, it's just gross. It's just really gross. All the other people that hate the Celtics in this league, like us, know that this is true, that they get handheld. Laker Nation would tell you that too. Knicks Nation, Nets Nation, everybody would say the same damn thing about the Celtics and their place in the NBA as far as things. Jaylen Brown won for sure. Fiercely saying Jaylen Brown won that one-on-one with Jason Tatum, which are the two Celtics won in the battle of the one-on-one isolation bullshit that they hijacked the game into a one-on-one competition. Everybody stand aside. Let's have a little Celtics one-on-one. Well, Jaylen Brown won according to Fiercey, according to Tom Duke. Blackhawk saying Jason won, but Jaylen should have brought a black cape. Yeah, that would have been kind of cool. You know, that he had a cool look. And it's interesting that he had not played yet. He has not come back from his injury in the regular season. And same for DeMar. They've both been hurt, and they showed up for the All-Star game and played. And that thing with Giannis at the beginning was really goofy with his wrist. He's like, I got to play and just score one basket and then sub me out right away. Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, he should have had a cape. I would have liked that, Blackhawk. G saying Rising Stars games were better and more competitive. Yeah, I agree with that. In some ways, that's so true. So true. So true. Space Cadet saying worst All-Star game ever. They deserve that for hosting it in such a garbo city. Space Cadet, once again, another one of my favorites, always coming with the heat. And yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah, those are very strong opinions, but I cannot disagree with you. I cannot disagree with you in a lot of it. Jimmy's saying they should have announced 3-time All-Star and champion Pascal Siakam. Still can't believe they shafted him for Jared Allen. Yeah, he would have been a 3-time All-Star if he had made it last year, but he's only a 2-time All-Star, which is too bad. But you know what? He's going to get more of these accolades, and it's not like he doesn't look like he doesn't fit in there. He definitely is not like there. Like, and it's like, is he really kind of an All-Star? No, that guy's a full-time All-Star. Siakam is for real, and he is a legit All-Star, and he played like it in the game. He was really fantastic. He was crashing the boards. The way he was rebounding was really good. There's one thing that I really like about the two Raptors performances on Friday and Sunday night is that both Scottie and Pascal were crashing the boards and getting good board numbers in their respective games. And that shows work and trying to do the dirty work when maybe everybody else is just trying to cherry pick or just trying to get shots or even just look for passes to hook up other people. These guys were boarding. And I like that. I like that. Board man gets paid. We know that. We know that. Yeah. Tom Duke saying Damian wanted it and told the others he was going to win. Maybe that will be a good example for the others with the dunk contest. It's so hard to do that with the dunk contest, though. Like, when you're a three-point shooter, you can be very confident. Like, I'm feeling hot and I practice so much. And, Lillard, come on. He was shooting those half-court shots in the All-Star game. And, like, he looked really good. He hit one of them that was insane. If he'd hit the second one right afterwards, I would have been like, holy shit. 2 half-court shots made in a row. And when he hit that half-court shot, they went to Luka because Luka was trying to shoot half-court shots at different times, and he's been missing them lately. And yeah, it was funny. When Dame hit that one, they switched to Luka on the camera for a second. I don't think you could do that with a dunk competition unless you're like Michael Jordan and you've already won like 1 or 2 already. That's really hard to do. First of all, you don't want to be that cocky. Because imagine if you came in the locker room and said that, and then you came out there and did what Jericho Sims did. You don't want any more pressure on yourself by bragging about it ahead of time. So in some ways, you don't want to do that with the dunk competition. It's a lot more tenuous, and there's way more that can go wrong as far as things. It's not as much in your control. So Lillard calling it for the three-point shootout, well, it's all under his control, and he can do it. But the dunk competition's in a whole other animal. It could go all kinds of ways sideways in weird ways. And you don't want to be that cocky coming in. So I don't see people doing it with that particular competition. I really don't. Tom Duke's saying, got to be a feather in the cap, so to speak. Yeah. Yeah, this is definitely good feathers in both of their caps. Scottie's seeing the All-Stars. He needs to be a full-time, a real All-Star, a main All-Star. He's going to be that in the years to come for sure. Tom's saying, Tooth, how much does a grill like Jaws cost? Oh, with the diamonds. I have no idea. I don't know very much about those things. It's really kind of cool how NBA players today do homages to old NBA players at All-Star. There's a picture of SGA in this fur coat that is just like a fur coat that Magic Johnson wore back in the day to the All-Star game. Of course, we see the images of Pascal with the camcorder, with Shaq with the camcorder from years before. So the homages don't just go into the dunk competition with wearing jerseys from old times past, or having like dunks that you do in honor of people that did dunks before, like Vince Carter or Michael Jordan. It can be happening, and just everyday kind of things about the All-Star, as evidenced by the garb that people are wearing in honor of old garb or camera accessories, stuff like that. Let's see. Cool Cat saying Scottie and Precious would be great for the dunk contest, but perhaps hurt their brand after losing in this social media world. Get the best non-NBA dunkers around the world to compete. Yeah, maybe Mac McClung's world is the world that needs to be doing the dunk competition. I don't know. Maybe they need to do this. How about this? I just had a light bulb. Why don't they have the dunk competition have no NBA stars in it at all? If you want to win the dunk competition, you have to be in the G League, and you have to be like on your way up. And that's a really like an incentive for these guys to really make the name for themselves. Because there's some guys. Listen, I was watching the G League All-Star game yesterday, and there's some crazy ass dunkers in that game. They could easily do it this way, and there may be that they catch guys like Scoot Henderson or Victor Wembanyama on their way up, because they're not actually in the league to lose anything, and it's kind of like pre-showing them. And then there's no worry, but everybody kind of gets a chance to do it. I don't know how you would do that with the draft. I don't know how you would do that with the draft if they're in college or what. Maybe you have to do it with rookies and G League players, or you can be like 2 years in the league, but nobody after that can do it. I don't know. Maybe too many rules is not good. But I think you're alluding to something that could help the dunk competition, is get the youngest guys that are hungry and want to make a name for themselves, just like Mac McClung. And maybe those guys are in the G League, or they're very young rookies that are coming up and they want to be more well known. And that may be more incentivized and catch them at that level. Because like Kobe did the dunk contest when he was very young. I think he was a rookie when he did the contest. So there you go. They want to do it right away, get it over with in their career, and then they don't do it again for the rest of their career. Well, Ja Morant, maybe you should have done it or earlier in your career when you were younger in that model. So I don't know. I'm trying to brainstorm and problem solve for the NBA right now. In some ways, we're like the NBA All-Star think tank this morning. How can we make this better? Maybe the coaches should be able to tell their players, if you don't play defense, you're not playing. Maybe they should have younger people that are hungrier, that really have an incentive to win the dunk contest, be in it more. Who knows? Logical saying, not gonna lie, if the dunk contest goes well, those unknown guys can become sort of known. Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine weren't really known before 2016. It's this wanting to promote lesser guys, but they aren't there. Yeah, this is kind of like Mike's already talking about what I was kind of talking about just now. You want to incentivize it. Well, people want fame. And the people that need fame, maybe you go and have people that go around and look and say, this guy's not famous, but he's an amazing dunker, and he's going to have some line. But also you'll have the problem. Maybe you have a lot of Harold Miners or a lot of Kenny Skywalkers. And what that is basically a dunk guy who's known for dunking, but he really isn't a good NBA player. And he's not playing a whole lot in the league or known for that. He's really just known for winning the dunk competition, which is what I'm going to predict that Mac McClung is going to be. That he's going to be very much, that was his moment in the spotlight. He may win another dunk competition and extend it that way, but he's not going to be well known for anything else, honestly. Seriously, he will not. You're right, though. The notoriety really is the carrot in front of the guys. It's like the opportunity to put your name out there and be put more on blast, like Mac McClung for last night. He got to introduce Post Malone before the game. A lot of funny jokes about the name Malone last night on Twitter. People are saying the only Malone that I wanted to see was Post Malone. And like, no, the only Malone you wanted to see was Michael Malone. Trust me. You didn't want to see Karl. You didn't want to see Post Malone. Post Malone's a pretty interesting entertainer. I'm watching his performance, and like some people are saying, do we really need a Post Malone performance right now, right before the game? Well, that's just kind of how the NBA does it. They'll just stick a Sting concert in the middle of their shit all of a sudden, even though it doesn't make any sense and it's non sequitur. But yeah, it's just how it is. At least it wasn't Sting this time, right? Daddy Gates is saying Burna Boy was more entertaining than the game itself. Yeah, a lot of people are saying that this morning. That in some ways the most fire thing about this All-Star weekend is some people are saying Mac McClung, but some people are saying it was the halftime show. Jimmy Pope is saying, just an embarrassing showmanship of the NBA product. The league has to do better. The players genuinely don't care. Straight disrespect to the game of basketball. Waited all year for that garbage. I hope you're not waiting all year for that. I hope nobody's waiting for the All-Star. Because really, it's just a necessary thing that we do in the middle of the season. It's not necessarily like, I don't know. I mean, people in Utah were probably very much looking forward to it. It's just a mix of a little bit of racism, a little bit of creepy pedophile, a little bit of underwhelming non-competitiveness, a very interesting underdog dunk competition champion. And yeah, that's really kind of summing it up. And it's like kind of ho-hum, yawn, and kind of like, yeah, okay, we could do better. We could do better. Next year, it'll be in Indiana. And apparently the Indiana group was there watching how they did things and maybe trying to learn what not to do. There's a lot there to learn not to do there, Indiana All-Star people. So, yeah, take all the lessons from the Utah All-Star weekend and improve on them for next year, please. That's what Jimmy's saying. Isaac's saying basketball over spectacles. Yeah, we want the real deal Holyfield. That's the part of the problem in the whole game in general. Is we become a highlight culture. It's more substance. There's no substance. It's more like I've likened it to this at times. It's more sizzle than steak. That in the old NBA, it really was about hard work and kicking your ass, and defense wins championships, and highlights didn't matter, and like all the extra shit that matters more to the internet culture of the basketball now. It didn't matter back then, and it was really more workmanlike. It was more get your lunch pail and get out there and bust your ass. But now it's very cushy and cozy and like, oh, I get hurt my finger. I'm like, I'm not going to play. And, it's very different. It's not as tough. It's very kind of like, it's very not workmanlike. It's very kind of like, I hate to say it, bougie. And in some ways, like back in the day, it would very much was still workmanlike. You showed up to the All-Star game and you're going to play Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. Yeah, you're going to bust your ass. You don't want to be embarrassed out there by these guys. This game, it doesn't matter if you get embarrassed. It's just part of the goofiness and the lightness of the whole thing. But back then, it did matter. Michael and Isiah in All-Star games back in the day, there was some very much shit talking and trying to make each other look bad. And they cared about not looking bad. And in some ways, they were more careful with the ball because of that. That's part of it also. These guys it's throwaway. It's so disposable. It's so many possessions, so many points, running up and down. Nobody's playing defense. Well, back in the day, they had some semblance of like trying to guard and a little bit of shit talking, a little bit more skin in the game as far as like, I don't want to look bad in this game. And I think that's a real big difference between like the 90s All-Star games and the All-Star games that happen now. Is that the mentality of the players was more workmanlike. And in some ways, that's why guys like Scottie and Pascal thrive in this and do better, is because they kind of more like the old school. They came in with their lunch pails and they wanted to get rebounds and not necessarily highlights. So, yep. Basketball over spectacles every time in my book, Isaac, for sure. Mike saying Poeltl versus JV. Ooh, yeah, that's all right. Let's hype this matchup for Thursday. Yeah, the past revisited against each other. Yes. The big man, the two drafted big men from the Raptors, other than Koloko, recently, the last two centers we drafted versus each other. Jakob Poeltl versus Jonas Valanciunas. Mike needs this. He needs the popcorn, and he's ready for it. He's got that popcorn ready to watch those big men fight. I'm excited about this game. CJ McCollum, all these different guys coming in to Toronto on Thursday. We got to beat the Pelicans' ass, is what I'm saying right now. Yeah, Fiercely saying, I also enjoyed watching Pascal having fun, engaging in the festivities, representing the Raptors, and playing so well yesterday. Yeah, nothing not to like. He just did a good job all around. Check mark this, check mark that, check mark this. You had fun. You got rest. You were part of the NBA family. You ensconced yourself more in the whole institution of it as a legitimate top player in this league. All of it's good. All of it's good. And Scottie, you go out there and see more of it, enjoy it more, and lust and want more for yourself as far as getting to the big game and being involved in future All-Stars as an All-Star yourself. This is all good. This is all very, very good. Nameless is saying simple. You need to pay them. Offer the winning team a set amount of millions of dollars to divide. Problem solved. Yeah, I don't think that does it anymore. Seriously, these guys make so much money. Money does not incentivize them to do anything. Honestly, seriously. You could come to John Morant and say, I will pay you $10 million if you do the dunk competition next year. And he'll tell you no still. I'm serious. That's not the way to do it. it's got to really be like you got to touch the heartstrings as far as with the charity once again. The charity can really be the most because it's doing it not for themselves, it's doing it for the kids. And you really got to sell them on that and they got to take it more seriously. That's part of what I was just saying is like if they don't care about getting the money for Big Brother over feel for the future or whatever, or look for the future, then they're not going to compete in the last couple seconds of each quarter and it's going to lose entertainment value. That really is what's important is either you get the coach or the team captains, LeBron and Giannis, and say, listen, guys, I really care about big brothers, big sisters of Utah, and we need to win money for them. So y'all need to try for me, LeBron, and try and get more money for these youngsters. Let's play for them, guys. Like appeal to them in that way. Or like I said, give the coaches, stop chopping their nuts off and let them have like ability to bench guys and manage the game like they would a normal team in the NBA and say you're not playing because you missed your defensive assignment 2 times down the court. What's in an All-Star game, Michael Malone? Well, you know what? I don't like this kind of basketball. We're playing real basketball, and you don't listen to me. I'm the coach. You're on the bench, Jaylen Brown, for the rest of the game. I'm sorry. But that's not going with the NBA narrative to push the Boston Celtics down our throats. Well, too bad. I'm a coach with integrity. And I do not believe this is basketball unless defense is played. It's good. Let's see. Cool Cat is saying Pascal is being a great ambassador for the Raptors this All-Star weekend and really showing the way for Scottie. I agree with this. I hope we vote like crazy for both Pascal and Scottie next year. Well, once again, we're never going to get a vote on the All-Star starters. It very rarely, unless you're Vince Carter. And that's what's happening. I mean, Scottie has that potential. He could become so popular in this league that he becomes a voted in starter year after year. I'd love that for him. And he does have that potential, but he is hindered by being up here. And that's too bad because I don't want that to be a factor in anything that he decides later. But realize, Scott, if you do it with us and you get through it all and you do become like Michael or Vince, perennially so popular that you get voted on to the All-Star starters every year, it'll be fantastic. And it'll be such an accomplishment from us. And it'll be more like Vince Carter back in the day. He was just so popular, even though he played for the Raptors, he was on those starters because the fans everywhere loved him because of his dunks. So, Scottie, if you do that, you can get that path. But you really have to have a mainstream appeal to the whole entire league as a superstar. But yeah, I love him showing him the way. And, it's really where, like I said, I was starting to say, it's at the mercy of the coaches. Our guys more than the fans. The fans are not going to vote our guys in unless, like I said, Scottie gets to a popularity level like Vince Carter. Otherwise, it's really the coaches that are going to put our guys in eventually. Scott B saying Pascal is the best player in the NBA. Look at LeBron's team in place in the standings. Yeah. I mean, Siakam was really good, and he didn't look out of place. Look, he didn't look like it was weird that he was there. And then that's what I like. He really did like fit, just like Bam Adebayo or Donovan Mitchell. He fit just like all the rest of them. Shere Khan saying there has to be real season implications at the All-Star game. Something like winning the conference has home court advantage in the finals. All-Star weekend has become worse every season. Wow. Very indicative of it. I don't disagree with you, Shere Khan. Now, what you're explaining and describing is similar to what the baseball has done. The All-Star game in baseball became more important because the side that won got home court advantage for their team in the finals and that in the World Series. And that's really a big, big thing to play for as far as like things. And it's funny because you're all collectively trying to get it, but it only helps one team in your side. I know the NBA could explore this and do this. That could really work. But I don't know. It could be very well that like in some ways they may sabotage it or because they're not doing East-West now, it's schoolyard picking. They can't do it like suss it out exactly right. It's not like LeBron, if he picks Eastern players and he has the Western team because he had the Western coach, Michael Malone, that doesn't mean that like, these guys are going to play to help the Western Conference team have the finals home advantage if they're in the Eastern Conference. So they'd have to go back to East versus West if they wanted to do the same model that the MLB does. And I don't know. I think they really like the schoolyard picking. So that's not probably going to be likely. So I don't know if this plan could work in the NBA just because of the gold they found in the schoolyard picking and breaking it up not by conference anymore. So, but it's an interesting idea, and it could possibly work if they did go back to East versus West. It could possibly work that way. I thought that that was a brilliant idea when I heard that the MLB was doing that, and I think they still do that, don't they? I don't know if they scrapped that idea, but when they started it, I was like, this is really smart, like by this league because it makes it more exciting. It really does make the game matter and mean something because they're playing for something very big and important at the end of the year. Banana Bread Tan saying, so excited for the NBA season to resume. Poeltl is starting to be understood as an atypical floor spacer. Uh, Quick thinking with the ball encourages other players to keep moving. Yeah, he rewards guys for moving around him off ball. And this is something that's gonna be great. Like once again, like Scottie's really good at passing guys and getting them on the cut. So is Jakob. And this is the thing; they can match and share different philosophies and styles and teach each other in different ways. And, Scottie can teach Jakob even at 7 years in, and vice versa. Definitely, Poeltl can teach Scottie. So the more that they rub off on each other is going to be good, especially with the team defense stuff and the passing for sure. But yeah, I want to see more of Poeltl and just in general. In some ways, getting the break right now is kind of like a chance to take a sec to catch your breath and really let it sink in that we have a starting center again, that we have a center. This is like, no, pitch me. It's real. It's for real. We're not dreaming anymore. Poeltl is on our team. And in some ways, this time, the break has really gotten me a chance to reflect on it and understand the implications of this are much bigger than a lot of people are willing to admit right now. In fact, some people don't want to admit that we are becoming a championship favorite just because we got a center now. They don't want to admit it because they don't want it to be true, but I do, and I can see it. And I really do believe, like, I've said it a couple times in the last couple days, we re-sign Jakob Poeltl this summer to like a 4-year deal, we're going to win a championship within his contract that he signs this summer. I'm going to make that bet right now in prediction that he is a piece that will get us another championship. Him. And I'm all about it. And I'm so excited to get it to resume also, Banana Bread Tam. Good to see you again recently, too. Duke saying, Duke Rocks is here. Good to see Duke Rocks. One-on-one, Brown won versus Tatum. Yes, I think it was evident. He absolutely killed him. At one time, he broke his ankles, didn't he? He had him fall over on the side. He's like, oh, and then he like froze Jason, and then he shot the three over him and made it. I think if I was keeping score, I saw Tatum score 3 times successfully versus him one-on-one. And I think I only saw Tatum score once. Brown scored 3 times successfully. Tatum scored once successfully when they were doing the one-on-one. There were really only like 3 or 4 series each against each other. And I'm pretty sure it was Tatum was like 3 out of 4. No, Brown was 3 out of 4, and Tatum was like 1 out of 4 as far as converting in the one-on-one. Let's see. Tobias is here. Good to see Tobias. Anytime a Raptor can beat a team with LeBron is always great. You go, Tobias. Good to see your Dave in the chat this morning. Yeah, why not? It's fun. I don't think LeBron was trying last night, though. I think that he saw the heat Giannis was coming with and how much he really wanted to win. He's like, I can't lose to LeBron again. In some ways, I think LeBron didn't try as hard in some ways. He was trying with the drafting. He did a good job with his draft. But in the game, like he didn't play a lot at times, right? What did LeBron do in the game? He had 14 minutes and only 13 points. He had a very similar line to Siakam without the rebounds. He had the same amount of assists, and he only had 13 points. He was 6 of 11. So he played worse than Siakam. And to be honest, I don't think LeBron was really trying. And that's a part of it too. Is like if the leader, the guy, he didn't seem like he cared about winning as much as Giannis did. And that was very evident. So let's see. Logical saying facts like the MLB, just to add something real to it. Like this could be a big thing if the finals team's records is tied with then the winning conference is All-Star gets the home court. So it's a fair idea. I don't know. Well, that's so rare that the tie would happen. So it would be kind of like useless then. Like, how often are there ties at the very top? Not very often. So it would be basically like we're doing it already. So it's not worth it. And once again, we got to do East versus West for this to work. It won't work with the schoolyard pick. So you're sacrificing the schoolyard pick for the home court advantage in the finals incentive. So it won't work that way. Shirkan saying home on native land I'm all for that. Big ups to First Nations. Love the culture being from rich native culture myself in northwest part of the South Asian continent, bringing everyone together. Big ups to you, Shere Khan. Yeah. Yeah, seriously, let's get real. Seriously, there's people out there that hate their history so much, they want to ban people from learning it. That's how bad y'all are. You're ugly. The only way we learn from making mistakes in the past is from knowing them. And if you want to hide all these ugly, ugly, ugly mistakes that people made with racism and fucked up shit that they did with colonialism, taking over this continent and running roughshod with genocide on people that were already here, yeah, you're whitewashing history and you're fucked up. And yeah, why are you so ashamed? You got to hide it. You're like Karl Malone. You don't want anybody to know your old history, USA or Canada, with what you did to the people that were originally here. Well, that's what I'm saying. We got to get real with our past before we can heal and we can get it right. And that's why this is important, a very important subject, especially here in Canada, with some of the things that we find out about residential schools and rectifying some of the injustices and tragedies and horrific things that happened in the past. You may not want to look at it or understand that it happened, people. Then you want to be just happy in your happy world. But you know what? There is blood on all of our hands because our society is built on some fucked up shit. And the more we don't get real with this kind of stuff, the more all will just be like making the same mistakes over and over again. So I'm totally with you, Shere Khan, and big ups for your comment. And yeah, way to go, Jelly Black, for doing that, our home on native land. Such a bold statement. And I'm sure some of those conservatives in Utah's heads exploded in that crowd when they heard that. And then they saw Burner Boy, and then they really like just spontaneously combusted. What a wasted halftime show on that crowd. Seriously. Holy crap. What a waste. Tom Duke is saying 100% agree, Shere Khan, respect. And on native land definitely sounds better. Listen, they've amended Canada already with taking some of the sexist stuff out of it, saying more inclusive for people. Well, this change to this lyric is not very much out of pocket or maybe very good. In fact, maybe there'll be a lot more people singing it with that lyric in that way. And I think that it is very respectful, and it nods to the fact that this is stolen land that we live on. It really is. And people don't want to admit that or think that. And listen, I came here. My family came here as refugees from World War II, and then had family in the West also. So everybody can't really, you can't go back and change your family's past or what your people did, if it's ugly and it's fucked up. But at least you want to say, like, you know what, we got to be honest and fair that this happened and acknowledge it. You can't sweep it all under the rug, because there are people that have generational pain and hurt from this. As much as you have generational wealth from exploiting it, this is the thing. This all still has repercussions and ramifications from what happened before. Is the reason why some people are rich right now, and some people are very much suffering and have problems with alcoholism and generational pain. So yeah, these are still issues that matter. People can say, "Oh, this also buried history back in the day." Well, this shit is still very pertinent to things that are happening now. There are people that are grandchildren, great grandchildren to people that suffered, and they still feel their pain because that pain body is carried through DNA through generations. And you can feel the pain of your ancestors. You very much can. That's a very real thing. So you tell me that it doesn't matter, this subject. You tell me it doesn't matter. I just explained that to you. Yeah, I love what you guys are saying. You go, Shere Khan. You go also, Tom Duke, in support also. Allstar saying it's not Fred's fault. He's reacting to his surroundings. The lack of 3 points have caused him to chuck up shots. Poeltl has made him a better point guard. That's what thinks saves Fred on this team. Well, Fred was never really actually in trouble. It's just certain people in Raptors Nation think he is or want him to be because they hate him. And there really is very much planned campaigns to try and oust Fred from our team. And that's why, the Lakers, listen, let's talk about Fred real quick. Fred announced officially that he is with Klutch last week on his social medias, and he posted it up. And you know what happened right after that? That when everybody in the NBA, all the fans around the NBA saw that he signed with Klutch, they all started trying to get him on their team. There's Lakers Nation is going crazy right now. We're trying to recruit Fred because they see his name with Klutch and LeBron's connection. There's so many other teams right now that are thirsting for Fred, just like they thirst for OG.
Now, why are they all thirsting for Fred? Meanwhile, Raptor fans do not value him and treat him like shit. You know why? Because idiots that are not Raptor fans are making content anti-Fred, and they're tricking y'all into hating him with bullshit, made up shit and narratives about the way he shoots and chucks it. I don't agree with that word of you saying he chucks up shots. He does not chuck up shots. He makes shots. He takes shots. He misses shots. And that's all in the realm of possibilities. Never just chucking shots. He has a good chance usually. I met Fred. I said, listen, you've been in a slump. He had been in a slump right before I met him in August of 2018. And I said, Fred, we believe in you. Raptors fans, the real ones, really believe in you. And we know shooters got to shoot. And you just got to keep shooting. And I have that philosophy for him. He has a green light. If he didn't have the opportunity to shoot as much as he does, or he was pissing Nick Nurse off, he wouldn't be able to do that. So what he's doing is not wrong with the coach. He's not wrong with the team. He's doing what he's being told to do, and it's not selfish. And everybody who comes at him that way, realize there's so many other teams thirsting for him right now. There's pictures of him in an Orlando Magic jersey. There's pictures of him in a Chicago Bulls jersey. There's pictures of him in a New York Knicks jersey. There's pictures of him in an LA Lakers jersey, LA Clippers jersey. Everybody's thirsting after him. So please, let's be very grateful and thankful for who we have. And let's value him just like other people around the league value him. Because I don't agree with this. I think that Fred is a very good player and he does so many good things for us. And that all the negative stuff that's taught and brought up about him, sure, that may have been fair in November when he was shooting badly and he wasn't playing well, but he's played excellent since the new year started. And there's no reason to be like talking him down or anything like that at this point. He's played fantastic. In fact, Fred has played at an all-star level since the calendar turned to 2023. It's just that really bad shooting in October and November and part of December that really turned people off from him. But he's fixed it. And there's no reason for us to be coming after him at this point. There really isn't. There really isn't. And realize that part of the reason why is because, there's other teams trying to shuck him out, and you're just a part of the noise to help that. Is what I'm not saying that specifically to you, Alistair. I'm just saying that in general about everybody with the Fred stuff. Because it's just tired at this point. If we don't see the value in Fred, then I'm sorry. You got to understand just how important he is to this team. He really is. Greg's saying, you control you, Raptors freak. I simply advise you to include a clause in your future riders that kids are off limits with the sole exception of Deuce Tatum. It's all good. Listen, I shouldn't go after kids. You're exactly right. But once again, I said this is part of the reason why celebrities don't want their kids in public and put on blast. Well, NBA players are all about it. It's great when we see Fred VanVleet Jr. mean mugging in a cool picture, when they're dancing or the after game press conferences, the kids are cute. But yeah, if you're a hater of a team, you may hate their kids too. It's just how it is. They probably make fun of Fred's kids from other places that hate us. So, it may be fair in some ways. I'm not going to hurt them. And I hope they would never find me and hear what I'm saying. And I don't know if I was totally out of pocket with goofy ass Deuce Tatum. I don't think I was, but yeah, I don't know. I do already mark my streams are not for kids. I cuss, I talk about sexual things, I talk about real world big things. And this is not a channel for children. So it's already not it's been marked not for kids. So, so Deuce, you can't come watch me and hear my insults. Cool Cat saying, gonna get my second All-Star jersey for Pascal to add to my collection. Those were really pretty jerseys yesterday. The ones that Pascal had, that team, the Mars, oh my gosh, they're such good jerseys. And I could really see a lot of people in Raptors Nation wanting to get the Pascal jersey from the game yesterday because it's a very beautiful jersey. It's a very, very beautiful jersey. I can see that, Cool Cat, that you're into it. The most decorated G League alum in Raptors so far. I also want Scottie to rack up accolades too. Yeah, Pascal is that. And Fred is not that far behind him either. Yeah, we want accolades for our guys and to go get them. Yeah, I'm all about that. Nameless is saying, oh my God, no, Common Lex, that kid is so cute, man. Totally disagree. Haha, Tatum may be an asshole, but his son is so sweet. I know. To me, he's like overgrown. He looks too big for his age, or maybe he's just like immature for his age. I don't know. How old is he? Because he seems like he acts like he's 3 years old, but he looks like he's 6. All right, maybe I shouldn't be cracking on the kid too much. That's enough, Lex. Lay off the kids. All right, fine. Jason Tatum, you're going to put Deuce on blast. Deuce may get deuced. That's what I'm saying. Logical saying Cool Cat collection. Yeah, we want to see that Cool Cat jersey collection. Sheer Khan saying at Matt Mike, yeah, something to incentivize players to put on a gem instead of another dunk contest. They don't want to be in dunk contests, but they put the dunkathon for free. Just saying, though. Yeah, really, this is a good thing to brainstorm to help them. Can you incentivize this game to make it more interesting and how? I don't think the Elam ending is exactly it. I think that the charities are part of it, and I think the coach. I think the coach is the big key to this. I think that the coach could come in there and really be like how they are with their team. That would help, and that may piss people off, and may have people have problems with coaches and players like, you didn't play me, and so, well, you didn't fucking get back. It's like, I think that's how you do it. The coaches have to gatekeep this. They really do. Space Cadet saying Amateur Hour Sports did a good video about keeping Fred. He's another real one. Right on. Awesome. I love to hear that. Anybody who's pro Fred right now, you're fighting the good fight. And really, there's intangibles that some people just don't get about Fred, that they just don't understand because they're not in the stat sheet. And if you're not like a very learned basketball person, you will not notice them or pick up on them. It's leadership shit. It's pacing shit. It's stuff that has to do with like organizing the team in certain ways. He has a big factor in all this. He's doing way more work than the average Raptor fan understands. And that's part of the reason why this is so infuriating to me, because that work he's doing is absolutely essential and important. And he's not getting any credit for it. It's a really, really important role on our team in a couple of different ways. Smooth Brown Man's here again. Good to see you, Smooth. I'll catch you on your next comment. Fiercey saying, honestly, both teams could have played without coaches, laugh out loud. No defense nor offensive strategies, only dunks and three-point shooting. Halftime show was my highlight. Yeah, I mean, well, a lot of people say in some ways that you don't need a coach in the NBA if you have certain players on your team. Just ask Steve Nash from earlier this year with Kevin Durant and Kyrie. Those guys acted like they didn't need him around or a coach or anything. Yeah, it's a weird thing. But that's what I'm saying. Why not give them the power? These guys coach their teams to the best record. They obviously know what they're doing in the regular season. Why can't they be powerful in the All-Star game and have control over who gets what's minutes? Oh, is it because the NBA has preordained what they want to happen with their narrative that they want to write, like Mac McClung or Jason Tatum? Yeah, that may be part of it. Why the coaches cannot have that power is because Adam Silver wants it. So I don't know. It could be. Daddy Gates is saying Kareem wasn't having it. He didn't want to be around Karl at all. I know he really didn't. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is one of the most open-minded, like intelligent, smart. Like in some ways, Kareem's not even just a basketball player. He's a philosopher. He's a social activist. He's a leader. He's a public figure that people look to for direction. And he is very, very respected in a lot of ways. And like his politics are very, very smart and very progressive. And standing next to Karl Malone in a photo op isn't, it's not progressive. It's not at all in some ways. And you could tell Malone wanted more shine. He was probably like, why aren't y'all making me do this more? He probably wanted to do way more with his weekend and be put on blast. And they had to kind of like balance that with like, you know what, Karl, we want to celebrate you. And we know you're an important part of the Utah Jazz. But also, things are kind of changed since the last time you've been showing up on camera on NBA TV screens. And that, you're bringing a lot of baggage. And in some ways, because the whole weekend was kind of shitty and kind of underwhelming, his baggage and him being put on blast is maybe more paramount and put out there and being talked about than the actual All-Star weekend. Because in some ways it's more interesting talking about Karl Malone being a pedophile. So yeah, NBA, you really got to watch out. I mean, Indiana's got a pretty wholesome team. I can't really think of anybody off the top of my head. Oh, maybe Ron Artest that you wouldn't want involved. Yeah, maybe none of the guys from the Malice in the Palace. No Jermaine O'Neal or no Ron Artest coming to this one. Although Artest was at this All-Star weekend in Utah recently. This weekend, we saw a picture with him and Nav Bhatia. That's another person I need to put on blast real quick is Nav Bhatia. Listen, you're such a great rep for us, and you really are an NBA person. You go in there and you just run things there just like you do here in Toronto. It doesn't matter if it's the whole NBA and it's All-Star weekend. Nav Bhatia is a global ambassador for the Raptors and for the whole NBA. And he is so ingratiated out there and really a big part of everything. He was everywhere. You see it at the end of the game when Tatum's doing this. They have this iconic picture of him holding his arms out. You see Nat Badia in the picture, like cheering in a way on that too. So he was all over the place this weekend. Another winning part of our organization, kicking ass, our super fan. Yeah, you go now. Kicking ass down there. Good stuff. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. Mike is saying, interesting, Lex, about the precious Instagram stuff. Never signed up for Instagram. Not gonna lie. Twitter and Facebook showed me enough to look for information in other places. Too much opinion becomes the facts. Group think. Yeah, that's part of the problem is perception become opinion and not fact. And that's really a huge weapon that people use all over the place in all kinds of different areas of life at this point. That it doesn't even matter what the facts are anymore. If you can get opinion to be your perception, even if it's not true, you can win a lot of people over. You can go talk to a lot of different crazy ass Trump people. That's who they are, is that they have opinions that they perceive as being fact, but they're not really reality based. So yeah, there's a lot of this kind of stuff. Yeah, if you're not on IG, yeah. I don't know. IG has weird like short life. I don't remember if he did them in the stories, and they maybe have been very temporary, but they were insane clips. Mike, oh my gosh, some of the dunks that Precious did in Nigeria last summer were insane. I'm not gonna lie, he could have won that dunk competition this weekend against Mac if he had done some of the stuff he did last summer. Sheer Khan saying the best moments in modern dunk contest history are tied to Toronto. Vince Carter in 2000, and then another awesome contest in 2016, Toronto All-Star Game. Can't wait till next time All-Star comes up north side. Yeah, I think this is so true, and this is the crazy thing. I think that the bias against Toronto and the Raptors would not disagree with this. I think that everybody, all the other NBA fans, can agree with this. That Gordon Levine duel in 2016 really was one of the better dunk competitions in the last 20 years. And then, of course, Vince Carter's performance in Oakland in 2000 is very much one of the top 3 all-time dunk competitions ever. It has to be. You got to put a couple of those Jordan, Spud Webb, whatever stuff from the 80s. But in my book, that Vince Carter dunk competition is at least top 5 all-time dunk competitions, and especially the best one in the last 25 years. That's for sure. Yeah. And it is good that we have those connections. And not only that, we have another dunk champion with Terrence Ross. So we've had Jamario Moon. We've had different people in the dunk competition and good representation in that area from the Raptors. So Smooth saying Giannis is becoming more arrogant. I think he's becoming more goofy. He was really goofy last night. He talked about needing a wall to stop him and how Miami, Boston, Chicago tried it, but never gave Toronto credit with stopping him in 2019. Yeah, he's conveniently leaving stuff out. People like to do that with us in 2019 very often. Golden State Warriors like to conveniently leave that year out often very much. Yeah. I don't know if I see arrogance. I still see him as being very kid-like and just kind of goofy. He's very like funny, and in some ways I really do love him and respect him. Just how goofy he is, and just how much he embraces the NBA in general as an NBA guy. He really is important to the NBA, and because he does things that guys like LeBron and other people will not do. He's willing to make himself look like a fool, and he's also willing to do anything. Like he just loves the activities. He'll go and show up for everything. Meanwhile, LeBron showed up for All-Star weekend right before the All-Star game. He was not there Friday or Saturday. He came in very late and right at the last minute to be involved for Sunday, and that's it. Meanwhile, you got Giannis there the whole weekend, and he's there every night, involved in everything. So he's an interesting guy. I don't know if it's arrogant. I mean, all these guys are arrogant to a degree, but in some ways, he's such a goof. And him being kind of an idiot during the draft, it made me like him even more, honestly. And obviously, I popped when he called Siakam's name. I was like, yes, and that made me love him even more too. So I'm with Masai. He's Masai. Giannis is his guy in some ways. So I'm kind of like in some ways, even though he's on the Bucks and they are an opponent, and I should hate them, I don't hate him or the Bucks like I hate the Celtics and Tatum or Embiid and the Sixers. And it partly is because I like Giannis so much. And I respect him for what he's doing. Like him staying in Milwaukee is so huge. Like somebody said earlier, is LeBron not doing the dunk contest kind of like influenced young people not to do that? in the future? Well, Giannis staying with the Bucks influences young guys to stay on the team that in the small market, even if they could sell out and go get big money somewhere else. And for that reason alone, I love Giannis because that is very healthy for the league that he stayed in Milwaukee, even though he didn't come to Toronto and it hurt us. I was still happy he did what he did because I knew overall this is good for the NBA. So I don't know, man. There's some things about him I just love so much. I can't hate him. I really can't. I love that we beat his ass too when we play him. I just love that too. So in some ways, I like him because he doesn't piss me off because he doesn't kick our ass all the time. It's crazy. All right, let's see. Alistair saying, do you think Roman Reigns is the greatest WWE champion in history? Wow. All right. You're getting into my other expertise. Well, I do have to say, to qualify this, I did not watch wrestling consistently or very much at all since 2003. I am familiar with Roman Reigns. I'm familiar with kind of with what the storyline's going on with the bloodline and the head of the table stuff and Sami Zayn. They just had an event in Montreal for Elimination Chamber. And I don't even know what the results are or anything. I cannot say this for fact. I will not say he's the greatest of all time. And the reason why is because of the numbers, is because the industry has been going downhill since Vince got a monopoly on it. And I don't really give any credence to anything that's happened in wrestling in the last 20 years. I think it's all full of shit. I like Roman Reigns. He definitely has the bloodline of the lineage with his family. And he isn't a bad wrestler. He looks like a real wrestler, unlike a lot of guys that are in the industry these days look like ordinary guys. In fact, if I stood next to them, it looked like I could probably beat their ass because they're way shorter than me and probably smaller than me. And that's crazy because I'm a very skinny guy. So I wouldn't say he's the greatest champ in history. I would say the greatest WWE champion in history is Hulk Hogan. It just has to be because he busted the whole industry wide open and he's the icon and he will always be bigger than the sport in some ways. And if I had to go top five, I'd say Hogan. I'd say probably Austin second, just because of the impact he had. Stone Cold Steve Austin. He drew so much money, sold so much merchandise, was one of the most successful, biggest draws in the history of wrestling. He has to be maybe two, and The Rock's probably number three. So, yeah, I could probably name 5 guys and maybe even 10 champions ahead of Roman Reigns, just in my book. But I am very biased against current era wrestling, just so you know. So, good question, Alistair, and a little bit out of the blue. But I hope that's your answer. Is I'm an old school guy. I like the old guys, and I don't put much value on the belts anymore because there's just like they had 2 belts, they put them back together. They've had so many goofy champions in recent years, and they switched the title too often. It really was a big deal when somebody held the world belt for like 2 or 3 years, like a Bruno Sammartino or something like that way back. Well, these guys switch it. It's not worth anything because it changes so much. And then there's way too many belts. It's clouded between which belt was the real belt. And then they unify them. Okay, that's good. But now they're talking about they need to split them again. So it's all confusing and stupid to me in some ways, the championship belt. Like, which one is it, the WWF belt or the old WCW World Heavyweight Championship belt? The WWE belt or the WCW belt? I don't know. Nameless is saying, I also started clapping and cheering when Siakam was selected. Would have liked to have seen him go a tad earlier, but at least it wasn't bad. Yeah, he went in the right place. I thought he would. I mean, sure, we would have loved him to be picked first. And I was like kind of hoping that would be kind of some crazy thing like happens where LeBron or Giannis takes him real early. And I'm like, holy shit, these guys do actually make a nod to respecting the great Siakam and what he does. But, he got picked in an okay time. He wasn't anywhere near the end. I felt bad for Jaren Jackson Jr., but once again, a lot of people say he's the one who didn't really deserve to be at the All-Star weekend. He's on the bubble. And then, another thing about Jaren Jackson Jr. is he was just elected as one of the player representatives for the Players Union. He is a vice president of the Players Association as of this weekend. And Grant Williams is the new president of the Players Association. Kyrie is no longer in that leadership. He is out of it. And yeah, I could have told you that was going to happen. But yeah, very interesting stuff with the draft and things like that before. And I think Siakam was fine. I think he was fine. And I love to see him on the team he was with the guys he was with. Country Kong saying, good morning, Raptor Freaks. Thank goodness that weekend is over. I'm not sure what All-Star weekend has turned into these days. I miss watching Kyle Lowry taking charges on Kawhi. I think a lot of people miss that too. They really, really do. All right, G's got breaking news for us. It's the free agent signings from the buyout market continue. We know officially Kevin Love is going to be on the Miami Heat. This is once again, I hate this so much. And not only are they getting Kevin Love to join the Heat, they're getting Cody Zeller too. And these are two centers that they've lacked all year. I've said over and over again, the Miami Heat do not scare me because they have no big guys down low. Well, now they do. And this sucks because now the Heat are a real contender because they actually have some big guys. And I don't like this. I don't like them filling the hole, the void that they had like we did when we got Poeltl. Because now they got Love and they got Zeller down there. Now, Zeller's not going to help too much, but Love is definitely going to help them. Now, Clippers are signing Russell Westbrook, is what G's saying here right now. That was one of the teams on the list for him to go to. And with them getting rid of John Wall and sending him back to Houston, well, they can have a different guy that's in that kind of spot, and it's going to be Russell. Now, it'll be interesting to see. The Clippers are a team I don't hate. I really do love Kawhi, and I love Norman, obviously. In fact, Norman is being handicapped as one of the top potential winners for the Sixth Man of the Year, guys. In fact, he was the second candidate in the odds, guys. And before the game, they had the odds for the Sixth Man of the Year, and Norman was second highest pick possible to be Sixth Man of the Year in the odds. So we're rooting for you, Norm. If you can get Sixth Man of the Year, that'd be a badass award for a former Raptor I'd like to see. But, the Clippers getting better and helping Kawhi out could be really, really good. I would root for them against all the other Western teams for the most part because I do want Kawhi's legend to grow and to get like something like LeBron and win 3 championships with 3 different teams. So the Clippers rose up and did really well in the postseason and won the championship this year. I would not be upset. And Russell Westbrook may help that. In some ways, him going to the Clippers across town from the Lakers where he just played is something too. That rivalry is very much a thing. And if Russell comes there and he has gumption and he can actually fit in and play well in the team concept of the Clippers, he could really help them get somewhere. But I'm not holding my breath on that. In some ways, Russell may hurt them more than he helps them. So we'll have to see how this goes. But thank you for breaking the news. Breaking news, Russell Westbrook is signed with the Los Angeles Clippers. Logical Raptors fanatic saying Lowry has it, the winning mindset you build as a sportsman. Masai's description of what it is. Lowry wanted to win every minute, every second, every time, and he hits the court, full effort to win. He's a legacy. Yeah, that may be part of it is you need that dog. You need that ultimate competitor as far as you don't give a shit if it's an all-star game. It doesn't matter. You're just stepping on a court. Well, every time you get on that court, you want to win, and you're all business. And maybe that's part of what's lacking. Obviously, Luka was worried more about getting to the beach last night. And Nikola is like, this isn't a real game. I don't care. A lot of these guys don't have a high opinion of this game. They just show up, make an appearance because they get voted to it. But they don't really take it seriously as much as the Dream Team cohort did back in the day. Like, they really did make it, like, they really went up on those verses, like Magic versus Larry in the All-Star game in the 80s and the 90s. Is that they could build that up. And in that way, that became part of the competition that was generated from it by making it a versus one-on-one. Like, this is Magic Johnson versus Larry Bird. And that was a very natural versus that came in the league like that and is a big reason why the league became popular in the 80s. Well, you need that. And Giannis versus LeBron is not that versus that you're looking for. You need something that has really kind of got either some enmity, like real, like pissed off, like anger between it, or it is a very good even matchup that it can be marketed like Bird and Magic from back in the day. And that may be something that could save the All-Star game is by very much orienting it like a Bird versus Magic kind of thing. But who is that matchup? Is it Ja versus Steph? That could very well be it. I mean, they're talking so much trash and it'll work as long as Steph's in the league still, but you didn't see Steph there yesterday, did you? I didn't even see him there. Like, was he voted to the team? He didn't even show up, did he? No, he didn't. So there you go. That's what I'm saying. Guys aren't committed, obviously. You see Steph Curry didn't even show up. Nameless is saying with 2 core players at the All-Star weekend this year, the real winners are the Raptors. That's right. I believe in this. We did have a winning weekend overall. Everything, like I said, Nabatia, Pascal Siakam, the camcorder, Scottie Barnes, Jose Alvarado kind of stuff. Yeah, winning. Seymour saying Pascal balled out. Yeah, he did a little bit of all of his little bit of things. He had a couple of cool dunks, and I really did like him working hard and getting up and down the court and being unselfish. Cool Cat saying PG-13 missed all of his 3-point shots in the game. All right, let's go be a hater, and let's go look at the worst people in the box score from last night for the All-Star game. Yeah, Paul George was awful, 0 for 9 from 3-point range, a minus 14, 8 points. I'm telling you, everybody thinks Paul George is all this and that. He's a fraud to me. He always has been a fraud in my book, as far as how I look at things. De'Aaron Fox was a fail with a 0 points. He only took one shot though, but he did get 9 minutes. You should have gotten at least one, bro. It's your first game. You need to get your points, and you didn't do it. Luka was a little bit of a fail last night. He was being very lazy. He was very lazy, and he was funny when he had the mic on. But once again, you could do this in the All-Star game. Guys won't mind standing around and just talking on the microphone and not getting, but they'll get tired if they're actually trying, and because they can't talk while they're doing it. And the announcers are kind of like, Luka, explain what you're thinking in your mind as you're playing. It's like, well, I'm going to pass it. It's like, I'm supposed to just pass it. That's what I'm supposed to do, is what he said. It's hilarious. 905 Yada saying, go rap. Salute the real ones. Yes, Project Truth. 905 Yada is in the house. Yes, holding it down in the 905 with I'm a Fun Guy. That's right. Wayne is here. Good to see Wayne is back again. Let's see what Wayne's saying about the All-Star game. All-Star game was unwatchable for me. Best thing was Julie Black. Yeah, the anthem at the beginning. It's like you watch the anthem, you started watching the game, and you're just like, this sucks. And he turned it off. I get you, Wayne. I very much get you. It was very much a weird All-Star weekend. I think a lot of people would say that this was a weird All-Star weekend. Seymour saying Karl Malone got a 12-year-old pregnant when he was in college. That story was swept under the rug for years. Yeah, Seymour, you didn't know that. See, there's dirty laundry for a lot of athletes that have been celebrated and are in Hall of Fames that are really ugly. Peyton Manning's another one of these motherfuckers that has really bad dirty laundry that was swept under the rug that nobody wants to know about. Peyton Manning. And it's really all about the money in the NFL protecting him and saying, this guy's going to make so much money for us. Let's sweep all this sex scandal under the rug and not let it see the light of day. Well, Karl Malone, similar kind of thing. They really did look the other way with this whole situation. And he really didn't want to acknowledge the whole situation for the longest time until they absolutely made him have to acknowledge it because of DNA testing and the truth. And then he had to come to grips with it. And it's only been recently, I've heard recently that he has come around and he is involved in his son's life. The child that was born by the 12-year-old girlfriend that he had, that he is finally reconciled and they do interact with each other at this point. But I mean, I wonder how much too little is too late in some ways. I mean, you were not a part of his life probably until he was like, 30 or almost 40 years old. So yeah, that's pretty messed up, Karl Malone. It's pretty messed up, real messed up. Seymour saying, sorry, she was 13, still makes no difference. No, she was 12 when he got her pregnant. She was 13 when she had the baby. That's the difference. It's like when they had the sex, she was 12 years old and he was 20 and he was in university and she was just a little girl who lived in Louisiana. And she was 13 when the pregnancy came to terms and she had the baby. So that's the difference. They can technically say that she was 12 years old when they conceived the baby because she had her birthday while she was pregnant. Logical saying Larry Bird had that workman style. The guy mowed his own lawn. He mowed his own lawn. And it shortened his career from a back injury during mowing. So I don't know. It's hard for NBA work to relate to real people work in this sense. This is such a weird comment from Mike. I kind of like it. I don't remember ever hearing this. I know Larry had back problems, but I'm pretty sure a lot of the back problems were just from NBA grinding and like falling on the floor and getting after balls and hitting himself on the ground. But I did not hear the fact that he had a lawnmower accident and that contributed to his back problems. This may very well be very true. I do trust Mike in his fact checking. I've never heard this before. And this is funny. I just learned something new about Larry Bird. That's the thing. The hit from French Lick was very like blue collar and very like from the farm. And, he had that mentality of the people from Indiana like him. And that, there's different guys that have been like that. Like Isiah and Magic were kids from Chicago. And they are Detroit, or Magic was from Detroit, but Isiah was from Chicago. But they had a very similar story. There was these guys that just played the hell out of all the time and worked so hard in all kinds of ways. In some ways, the LeBron James like coddle from middle school into high school into straight into the NBA is kind of like messing up young prospects. Like the way Scottie Barnes came up as a youngster is way different than a Magic Johnson or a Larry Bird or Isaiah Thomas. that those guys had to work really hard and get the shine, and they weren't really like finger pointed, this guy's going to be really good. And then in some ways they get coddled by a machine that coddled kind of like LeBron all the way in. So they miss some of the real blue collar work hard. Like, I'm going to play out in the snow every night, like Magic and Larry and Isiah did when they were young. Like, these dudes literally play basketball every day, rain or shine, whether it was -10 and it was snowing, or it was raining, or it was the hottest day in the summer. These dudes played basketball and practiced every single day. And the young guys coming up, they get like air conditioned, heated gyms. They get all this kind of stuff. And it's very different than the way that Magic, Larry, and Isiah and Michael had to learn basketball, and they learn it from a harder route. So I think that may be part of the whole phenomena, is that we point out the young prospects like LeBron and Scottie earlier, and they get coddled to a degree and don't have to do things as like tough as like some of those old guys. Because I can remember Magic Johnson talking about the way they would play in the snow. It would be a blizzard, and they didn't care because they had to be out there continuing to work on their game. And if they weren't out there all the time, somebody else was getting better somewhere else more than them, because they were putting in that time while they weren't. So they had that mentality of being at the court 24/7 as much as possible, rain or shine, snow or sleet. And that may be a huge difference in the whole mentality, Mike, is what I'm describing right there. Country Kong saying, watching the Celtics dominate the All-Star game was rough, but also the most competitive moments of the game. Is it the ridiculously complex All-Star game rules, the attitude of the players, or highlight culture to blame? I think it's a little bit of everything, Country Kong. I can't disagree. Now, listen, part of it is very wrestling. It's scripted. They want to have, like, it may be like a Curb Your Enthusiasm script. It's like they have beats, but they don't have all the lines written out, and they can improvise the lines to get to this part of the story is where Larry insults this person and this lady says something to him, but they don't have the exact words. Well, it could be that Adam Silver is like, all right, Joe Mazzulla is the coach of one team, LeBron's the coach of the other team. I have this list of 5 players that I'd most likely want to win the MVP, that will help the league the best. And it's like, can we direct this in any kind of way to have this happen, whether it's through the coaches and how they play guys, or direct the ball, or is it like, very much like a ref hit job? It's like the NBA can tell, Mark Lindsay, yeah, we want you to kind of do a ref hit job at the beginning of the fourth quarter and hurt the Raptors and try and help the Jazz win by the end of the game. It's shit like that. Well, they could very well, ahead of the game, been like, you know what, could be like a Celtics night. Let's get Tatum the ball as much as possible and preordain him to win the MVP tonight. It will look really good because he's a big, huge fan of Kobe. I know he'll love it. And then people get sentimental about Kobe in the Kobe trophy and him winning it. And it'll be a nice bow on top, like kind of written. It's very much scripted, like wrestling in some ways. You can see through it in some ways if you really understand it. And just like the dunk competition was very much scripted also. They wanted that little guy to win. They really, really did. Now, as far as the factors you're saying, the complex All-Star game rules, maybe they're a little confusing, but I think they add to it and make it better and more competitive. The attitude of players is definitely a big part of the problem. And the highlight culture is also a part of it also that adds to what more of it. And it's a problem from the fans' perspective of what they want in the game isn't necessarily they just want the dunks. Some fans really just want the dunks and no defense in the way it is. Some fans are like us and saying this is a pile of shit. Why would we watch this? So yeah, there's a lot of problems they got to suss out. And it really has to do with the game changing, and the attitudes and the way we look at the game is changed. And that's part of the problem also. Allstar saying Malone is sick. Yeah, it's gross. It's very, very gross. I mean, listen, I don't want to stand up for somebody who does something like that. It's really messed up. And like, it's poor decision making. Why? You're in college, dude. You're 20. Why are you looking at a 12-year-old? Seriously, why? It doesn't matter if that 12-year-old looks overly maturely developed at 12. You still don't need to be going anywhere near there. That is really crazy, Karl Malone. You're 20 years old. You're 7 years older than her. And she is still she's not even a teenager. That is crazy. Nameless is saying, of course, Pascal fit. He's a top 5 in average numbers this season. That's right. Well, in some ways, I want to make sure that it looks like he really fits. And he did. It's an important goal of the weekend. For sure. Nameless is saying native spirituality is the only form of spirituality I embrace, to a lesser extent, Hinduism and Buddhism, in fact. You know what? I'm very similar with that, Nameless. I've gotten more and more in tune with native ideologies as far as things. Like, one of the things that I feel like is very important that we don't think about that they think about and is very true is like, we just exist. We're not meant to be here to go and just work and bust our ass and like do the rat race. The natives really thought of like, we're like flowers and trees. We're just a part of the natural landscape of the world. And in some ways, we're just supposed to be. We're not supposed to do. And you can get involved and do projects and build things and create and do stuff like that. But in some ways, the system that we're in is very anti what we're actually supposed to naturally be. And that they know way better and from their ancestors and their times and their traditions that this mentality is the truth of life. And that we're just making a whole facade of bullshit and rules and things that we do that really takes us away from the real divine spiritual energy of being human and being on this planet in the natural world with nature around us. And that I really love this idea of what they're saying is that, like, fuck, why can't we just exist? Why can't we just be ourselves? It's people that want to monetize us and make money off of us that drive us in this way to be like this. And the old way is not like this at all. And that's part of the problem is that we need to get back to more our connection with the earth, the ground, the trees, the planet, the water, the animals, the birds, everything in this world. Because we're more and more detached from it and disconnected, whether it's our devices. We just need to be more a part of the natural world once again. Yeah, I'm really with you on this. And Buddhism is a big part of my spiritual beliefs. Very, very much so. There's a lot of stuff in there that I fully get behind too. I haven't explored Hinduism as much though, but I'm not against it, exploring it and learning more about it over time. It's just something that I haven't like had a chance to really look at too much. Logical saying, screw picking. Not gonna lie, you get a couple of moments. We decide who's all-star based on winning, right? So the team's likely to be in the finals, or they can get those players care about one thing, the chip. I think that in a way you're right. That the schoolyard thing is wrong in a way because you're gonna make somebody feel bad because you're gonna get picked last. You know, they made Anthony Edwards feel real good being LeBron's first pick. That really was kind of a magical moment in some ways. But in some ways, it could be really fruitful if we did the MLB model of giving the team, the East team or the West team, if they win, the home court advantage for the finals. That may be too much, though. And in some ways, that may go against the whole idea of the season and getting the best record so you can get home court advantage in the finals, right? Well, think about it this way. In 2019, if the West had won the All-Star game and the Raptors had the better record than the Warriors, we would have been playing 4 games in Golden State. Would we have thought that was fair? Think about it that way. So there are problems with this idea with the MLB, what they do with applying it to the NBA in some ways. In some ways, you can get away with it in baseball because baseball games, there's so many of them. And in some ways, the home field advantage isn't as important in some ways as it is in basketball. So let's see. Sheer Constant, knowing the past is the only way to define your future. Great lesson in life and for the Raptors. Accept the mistakes and wins from the past and build on it. We are champions and we can get there again soon. I love that positivity. He's exactly right. This is exactly how you get better. You have to learn from your mistakes. You have to acknowledge them. You can't poo-poo on them, ignore them, and say, oh, it won't happen again, because it will happen again. And you really, really got to build and learn from them. And I'm totally with all that. Logical saying, if you want players to care about the score, put something on the line, however small. Putting something real that they can truly care about would make the All-Star game competitive and fix things more than at the moment, in my opinion. You know, maybe they should just scrap the whole fucking thing and just let those players play card games and gamble. They could just turn it into a poker weekend where it's like, this is the All-Star weekend. We don't play basketball anymore. They're playing high-stakes poker. And maybe they'll play with their real money. They got it. You know, they caught them last year in the back with Embiid and all them playing poker for money. They caught them on camera gambling like that. Well, maybe there's a lot of intrigue and interest in an NBA poker game. Somebody said this on Twitter. This is not an original idea of mine. I saw this, and I'm just piggybacking on it. I forget who it was. It may have been Alex Wong, to be honest, that made this suggestion. Fuck the All-Star game. Let's just have a high-stakes poker tournament. Another suggestion that somebody had, and this may be very fruitful and could work, forget about the All-Star game. Have a 3-on-3 tournament and have all the All-Stars broken up into trios and have them in a tournament to win the whole tournament. That could be really fun and entertaining. 3-on-3 tournaments. Where you have a lot of really short games and that like they build up into like a championship round with, you know, that could be very competitive and it could be really fun to see like friendships together as a team. Like we could have had like the Pascal SGA DeMar team last night against like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and I don't know, some other Embiid or something like that. Some fuckface or you know what I'm saying. That could be an interesting wrinkle instead. Do a 3-on-3 tournament because they would really start playing for it if it's like that. Like they would be like, yeah, we want to be the top 3-on-3 team for the All-Star weekend. We were just trying to innovate here and think of new stuff. I thought that those were both interesting ideas: the poker tournament and the 3-on-3 tournament, to kind of spice things up. Let's see. Kareem saying Revenge Tour starts Thursday. Yes, Kareem Thomas. The Revenge Tour starts on Thursday. Jakob versus JV, old teammates. Let's go. Yeah, were they on the same? Yeah, they were on the same team for a little while. That's right. They were. Yeah, Jakob was with JV the first 2 years because we didn't trade. We traded Jakob first, and then we traded JV after. Yeah, that's right. Shirkan saying, I'm Team Fred mini growth through and through. Going to be sad if they move him this offseason. He can space the floor like Kyle did. Even his percentages are down this year. Dude got some range way behind the arc. Yeah, there's all kinds of good things about Fred. He's going to come through more and more as the season goes on with Jakob's presence here. And all these clutch shots and important things that he does at the end of the game like he did last season, we're going to see it reappear this end of the season now. It may not have been around at the beginning of the season in the fall last year because he failed a lot. And that's why people hate him so much, is because he failed and they don't like being associated with failure. Well, he's the guy who's putting his nuts on the line. And sometimes he's not always successful. He's going to fail. But when he succeeds, holy crap, you better give him the kudos as the hero also. Because there's going to be success and failure mixed. And Fred is a very apparent fail at times. And that's why people pile on him. Is because it's easy to see where he failed because he's that gutsy to try and make it happen. And that's why they get on him. Tom's saying, can we have a mascot matchup from the All-Star game? Did I miss that? Maybe just the highlights. It's interesting. The mascot matchup is very much tied to just the Raptors. So no, there will be no mascot matchup for All-Star. I would not waste my talents with the mascot matchup on such a frivolous, stupid event. I'm sorry, Tom. No, it will return on Thursday. Next episode of the mascot matchup. And if y'all remember, just because it's been a little while since we had it, this is where we're at with the mascot matchup. The Raptor is in his rocket car in a parking lot, and he's just been pulled over for speed racing, reckless driving, like street racing against the Pistons hot rod. And he beat the Pistons hot rod, but the police have pulled him over for street racing. And the policeman's coming up to the window. That's where we left it. That's the cliffhanger. So we'll have to see. And he's in the parking lot of a Subway with a big picture of Scottie Barnes in the window. We'll have to see. Is the Raptor going to get arrested on the next mascot matchup on Thursday? Seymour saying, Owen Hart and Texas Tornado were my two favorite number 3, ravishing Rick Rude. Oh, cool favorites. Owen Hart, a great Canadian wrestler, died tragically because of the sport. Really, really a fucked up situation that happened with Owen Hart. And Texas Tornado, really interesting story, Kerry Von Erich, getting in that motorcycle accident in the late 80s and losing his leg because of the accident and continuing to wrestle with a prosthetic leg that nobody knew about. Not even his own co-workers, the other wrestlers, he hid it from them. And there was one point in a wrestling match where he had his boots laced up high, so you couldn't tell he didn't have a leg below his knee, and he'd wrestle on one leg. And somebody ripped his boot off by accident in the middle of the match, and it freaked everybody out because it looked like they literally tore his leg off. So crazy. But yeah, rest in peace, Kerry Von Erich. Now, tragic family of wrestling, the Von Erich family. And then, of course, Mr. Rick Rude, another tragic death, too young, in his 40s. And this really has to do with steroid abuse and heart attacks. It was why these guys died. Kerry Von Erich was a suicide. He shot himself in the head with a shotgun. And then, of course, Owen Hart fell from the rafters at the Kemper Arena in 1999, I believe, in May. And it was really tragic because it happened in front of everyone on pay-per-view. So, yeah, really crazy stuff, but not bad 3. I love Owen, obviously. He's a great Canadian and one of the most important Canadian wrestlers in the history of wrestling. And he needs to get his legend continue to be told. And the truth about it, that, that fucking WWF killed him. Savage is saying Brock Lesnar was a beast. He still is. He's still around. He's not retired. he's still currently wrestling. In fact, he has a program with Bobby Lashley right now. And what he said recently was really funny. He said he's in his bed with his wife, and he'll be in his bed with his wife for a while, and then he'll start thinking about Bobby Lashley. He can't get him out of his head. And there's all these funny memes of him in bed with Sable, who's his wife. Brock Lesnar married Sable. And like he's thinking about Bobby Lashley. Brock Lesnar is a legit wrestler. He was an amateur wrestler at Minnesota and was a very, very, very good amateur wrestler. And he's a fantastic pro wrestler too. Yeah, he's just got the look. And he lives in Canada, y'all. He lives in Saskatchewan. I don't know if many people know that Brock Lesnar lives in Canada and that he's very proud to live out west in our prairie country. Let's see. Sheer Constant really like Giannis. His loyalty, his story, and his transformation from a skinny kid to the most dominant player in the league. Some haters who say he's got no skills are just jealous and envious. Real MVP. There you go. There's another person who enjoys Giannis and who he is and stuff like that. Yeah, I can get behind this. Like, honestly, we can't hate every other Eastern team. They're the one team that I kind of have respect for and like, because in some ways I see them as similar as us. Milwaukee is not the most attractive team for the NBA to win. And in some ways, I root for them just because of that. I don't want big market teams that they want to win, like the Knicks, the Nets, the Celtics, the Lakers to win. I want the teams that are underdogs, the teams that have a harder root, and not the golden like boy treatment and the carpet rolled out for them to just come right down and get what they want. Jason Tatum. That's what I'm saying. I like the guys who go the hard way, and Giannis is definitely one of those guys. Mike is saying teams have till March 1st to sign guys and have playoff eligibility with them. Signings after that are not playoff eligible. Dates have changed things. Okay, this is Mike letting us a little housekeeping note as far as like the buyout market and when guys get signed. Well, they need to do this shit in the next week because after that, they won't be eligible to play in the postseason. So good information, and thank you for the heads up. Shir Khan saying Triple J is now one of the VPs for the Players Association. My goodness, why do that? Other VPs are Grant Williams and Spida Mitchell, which makes sense. Pushing Triple J for no good reason. Oh, well, let's hope he does good things. He's very young, and I don't know. We don't know his background as far as this kind of thing. Often the guys who get involved in the union are really outspoken leadership kind of guys. I don't like Grant Williams. Obviously, I hate the Celtics, and him being in charge of the Players Association kind of bugs me. Like, I think he's very arrogant, and I don't think he's the right person for the job. There's other people that could do the job way better than him, but it is who he is. Now, I don't know Jaren Jackson's personality well enough. Now, we do have to say this, Shir Khan. He's a Nepo baby. He's Jaren Jackson Jr. That means his dad, Jaren Jackson, played in the NBA. And that's maybe part of the reason why he has a little bit of an inroads as a younger player into this kind of leadership is because his dad played in the league. And those guys do get a little bit of help. Jabari Smith Jr., Gary Trent Jr., Ron Harper Jr. These guys all get a little help. Scottie Pippen Jr., Sharif O'Neal, they all get a little bit of help just because of who their dad is. And that may be part of the factor here with Jaren Jackson Jr., just so you know. Savage saying she wasn't acting little. Wasn't she a part-time stripper or something? I thought that's where Malone met her. It still doesn't make it right, man. Seriously. Don't try. Listen, Savage, I know you're a troll, and like sometimes you say crazy things. I do appreciate your artistry with your comments. Sometimes they're very funny, but listen, don't ever try and make a case to prop up or support a pedophile. You just can't. You're not going to look good, and you don't want to be in that camp. Seriously, you do not want to stand up for him or give him reasoning. It doesn't matter. It could be that strip club is just as much a piece of shit people to employ a 12-year-old in there. It still doesn't matter. This man should not have been doing this. You know that's just pure truth. Paul's saying Spicy looked great in the game. So ready for Thursday to continue the winning streak. He looks refreshed. He looks revitalized. You can think about like 2 weeks ago what he looked like. He looked worn down. He looked tired. He looked frustrated. He looks unhappy. Well, boom, your best friend's back on the team. You're going to start winning again. You're an all-star after all. And boom, you get to go introduce Burna Boy and have a cool camcorder all weekend. Yeah, living his best life. Best week ever for Pascal Siakam, for sure. For sure. He is ready to come back and do it, Paul B. And we are so here for it. Fun guy saying, I heard my name, laugh out loud. Heard someone say, hold it down. I will. I got spidey senses. You heard me say, West 905 holding it down, 905 Yada, and I'm a fun guy, my 905 crew out in the west side of Toronto there. Yeah, in the Mississauga side, baby. Yeah, that's our 905ers. All right, let's see. Logical saying, not gonna lie, seems like the great European players now are those type of guys, like Giannis, hard worker first most. Not last night. No, 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 no. Who cared the most about that game last night? Well, Tatum seemed like he did. Mitchell, Embiid, Siakam. I'll say Siakam, but those two guys that were on LeBron's team in the starters, Jokic and Doncic, they did not give a shit about that game last night. They just showed up, they waved and smiled, and they left. They did not give a shit about that game in the least. So I don't know if I could say that, Mike. Banana Bread Tan saying, yes, let's get people to believe. Bobby and Masai kept the youth. We traded for in-house talent that we lost going for our first championship. Now we are reclaiming our roots. Youth movement for the win. It's really cool kind of cascading effect of having Poeltl return with his new skills, the Popovich download into his brain of just smarts and an incredible genius IQ on the basketball court. It is such a good move. Like, this is a premium return deal. This is like a slam dunk. We know the chemistry is good. The vibes are good. We already know that there's strong body of work with him and Fred and Pascal and OG of playing together and passing and having success, winning G League championship, doing very well on the regular roster with the Raptors also. There's just so much to like about this move. And once again, this was such a huge void and lack of something we needed. We're getting it filled. It's going to fill all our needs in certain ways, and people are going to be shocked at how much better we are, because those voids that we had without him were really picking us apart and making us lose. Well, he's filling that, and it's going to mean that we're going to win a lot. We're going to win a lot. And like I said recently also, the Raptors are very motivated to win more and get above 500 already. Well, Jakob is too, because he's been in San Antonio losing for a couple seasons now, and he hates it. He loves winning. He's this kind of guy that really likes to win, and he's all about winning again. So if he has the will to help in the ways that he can on the court, and it's going to be really effective, we're going to win a lot, because the will from him to win is very strong, just like Scottie Barnes, Pascal, and Fred. So it's just adding to that collective of will to win. And we will, because he's going to put us over top finally. And it's going to be really good. Logical saying, that's where I'm saying if the team's records are tied, so it could become the tiebreaker, however small it could matter. So focused guys will compete. That's an interesting idea, Mike, but how often will this ever matter? It could be that it never matters. It could be in like 50 years of the All-Star game that happens once. So I don't know. That they'll figure it out quick that it doesn't matter, and then it won't have any incentive to it. It really won't. So Fiercely saying, Lex, just read somewhere All-Star game picks it jumped. Were staged as the jerseys would not have been ready right away. Kind of makes sense. Would they have produced both jerseys ahead of time just in case? I think it's more likely the latter than the former. Seriously, I think they had everybody's jersey for both sides, and that those kids that were running down to get the jerseys, they had them all there just in case to give them out. I don't think that they scripted it. You can tell by the way Giannis was. Like, if they scripted it, would he have fucked up and said "Jaw" so early? And they were really like doing it on the fly, because LeBron had to like kind of react to him not taking Drew Holiday. He's like, "Oh, you didn't do what I thought you were going to do. I always know what you're going to do, Giannis. Okay, you didn't take Drew. So I'm going to take Anthony Edwards instead." I don't think that it was staged. I think that they just had all the jerseys for everybody available. In fact, there very well could be a blue 43 Siakam jersey on LeBron's side that we just didn't see. It was just underneath. And they would make all of them for that. They have no problem with doing that. They'll make all those jerseys and have them ready. So, yeah, I think that it's not likely it was staged. I think it was a very real picking. So, Alistair saying, Scottie and Pascal don't fit together. This will cause an ultimatum. Whoa. We're having such a good time, Alistair. Come on. Why do you got to rain on our parade? No, these guys fit. Scottie is the kind of player that fits with any player in this league. There's nobody that is in conflict with Scottie. Anybody who builds this narrative is wrong, because he's an ultimate team player. He wants to fit with everyone. He's a jack of all trades. He can do anything on the court. He can fit with anyone. And he'll shrink and expand his role to what is needed on a given night. There may be nights where he very much has to play like a Magic Johnson, Jason Kidd, point guard kind of distributor, and he won't score. There may be nights where he gets better as a big-time scorer and he takes over and he takes us home on his broad shoulders like a Kawhi Leonard would, with low post scoring in the fourth quarter. He's really going to be like Burger King. Have it your way. What would you like tonight, Nick? Well, I'd like tonight for you to concentrate on this, Scottie, and this. So really, this is something once again we don't do here. It's not a Fred versus Scottie or a Pascal versus Scottie thing. They all coexist. They all play well together, and it's shown. They're fine. Everything's good, and I'm not seeing no ultimatum on this. The path is very clear. Mike has said it. Pascal is not a super max player. He's a max player like he is already, but he's not going to go to the next level. Scottie will. Scottie will be our super max player down the road, and that's fine. It'll all work out, and he'll earn it. Trust me, because in the next 3 years, Scottie's going to make another leap, and he's going to be a bona fide every year All Star and be one of the most popular players in this league. I'm going to bet on that right now. That every player in this league has a jump after a couple years in the league. They don't just come in and they're just that. He's going to develop and he's going to get better and he's going to have a leap to a new level that's going to make him be our franchise player, the supermax player, the number one guy for sure, and a perennial all-star and possibly an all-star starter year after year. So I'm going to predict that for Scott. And I'm going to say next year, and I may not even say the year after that, but I'll say in the next 3 years, it's probably going to happen. It could happen next year. It could happen in 2 years. I don't know. Cool Cat saying, I just saw something on Twitter about a lawsuit possibly involving Coloco, 10 million lawyer fraud gambling in Vegas. I don't like hearing that. Okay, Christian, I'll have to go and do some research on this, Cool Cat, but that's an interesting little tidbit of information. Hopefully everything is all right with Colocs. Sheer Khan saying, another thing to consider is just to have home games played first for the conference who won All-Star game. Winning percentage can really can still have a 4-3 home court advantage. Really want All-Star to matter. Yeah, it sounds like it. We're really brainstorming on this and trying to help Adam Silver on this case. I don't know. We've had some pretty good ideas today. So I don't know. That's an interesting idea, maybe at a different level. Okay, I see what you're kind of saying. Banana Bread Tan saying we're keeping everyone. Watch Greg. He's tuned into management's thinking. We're going into the luxury to keep the team together, especially if we make noise this year. We have our number one option in Scottie Barnes. Yeah. And I'm glad more people are opening their eyes to this. It was really a narrative the press was trying to push for a while that we were going to have to choose this summer. And then we're stupid. Why are we doing this? We didn't trade one of them before the trade deadline because now we're going to lose one of them for nothing. This is what people have been trying to say. Well, we've been illustrated by Greg and Mike on their content recently that we can go into the luxury tax and keep everybody. And we are very much on this channel echoing the same thing. We've been saying this for a month too, that, yeah, we can keep everybody. And this always has been the case. It's just other people want to act like we don't have enough and there's scarcity and somebody's got to leave. Well, that's not necessarily true. Gary can probably be retained with Jakob and Fred this summer. So yeah, I'm totally with you. Yeah, and watch Jub Sound Clink. He's always got good stuff going. He's got some like I said, he's got the stuff out there and talking about his red sauce. So don't fall for the red sauce out there. All kinds of bullshit red sauce out there this year. G saying Scottie and Pascal are different positions. They totally fit. And now with Jakob playing a center, they can play their natural positions, not being clumped up on the point. Yeah, the thing is, Scottie, like I said, he fits with everyone. Anybody who wants to make Scottie has to stay or over this person because they're not going to work together is wrong. Because, like I said, Scottie can play all 5 positions, and we can fit him in anywhere. He'll fit with any player in this league. It doesn't matter who it is. There's nobody in this league Scottie can't play next to. So any kind of narrative where they're going to butt up or anything like that, it's just not true. It's just not true. Fun guy saying, Gary pushed to the bench scares me because he may not re-sign and we lose him for nothing. Masai and GMs care about losing for nothing. It's not a new thing. Getting stuff for a player has always existed. No, that's not what he's saying, fun guy. You better go listen to Masai from last week. He said this literally. He said, why do people keep coming up to me and saying, why do you want to let players leave for nothing? What does that mean is what he said. What does that mean? He doesn't believe in that, and he's not worried about that. Listen, we cannot control players like they're slaves. They can do whatever the fuck they want on the free agent market. If Gary decides he wants to leave this summer, there's nothing, a damn thing we can do about it. Sure, we could have said, oh, okay, we're preemptively trading you. But I don't think that's what's going on with this. Listen, I'm going to say this once again about Gary specifically. He wants to play for the Raptors. If he can re-sign with the Raptors this summer, he will. Even if we put him on the bench after the All-Star break, he's still going to want to re-sign with us. He will. And I'm going to tell you why. He trusts our organization, first of all. He likes our organization. He likes the guys he's playing with. When he wasn't traded on the trade deadline, he was so jubilant at that KFC event. And he signaled by saying that he doesn't care about cold weather and he likes Toronto, that he does want to re-sign with us. So don't worry about this fun guy. We can put him on the bench and he'll still turn around and sign with us this summer. Watch, because he's smart. He knows with his dad, Trent Sr., they talk about, well, this team's really good. And honestly, Gary Jr., if you stick around with them and you guys play together and let Scottie and Precious develop, y'all could probably be championship contenders in the next couple of years. And it could be Gary Sr.'s telling Jr. that. And he's probably, you know what, Dad, you're probably right. And like, there's no guarantees wherever you go anywhere else. Now, I don't know what's going to happen this summer. It could very well be he's on another team. But if we're going to lose somebody this summer, it should be him. We need to keep the other guys for sure, because we can replace Gary in some certain ways. But I love Gary and I do want him on this team. And if we do re-sign him and he's back on this team after this summer, that would be very good. But I'm going to tell you right now, he wants to be in Toronto. He's not trying to get out of here. And a part of the reason why he's played so well this season is because of that. That if he didn't want to be here, maybe he wouldn't have tried so hard and looked so good to make it hard for us to give up on him. That's what I'm saying. He played his ass off and he's played almost perfect this season. And that's because he wants to stay. That's how I take it. Seriously, if he didn't want to be here, he wouldn't try so hard and his ass would be out of here. You know, he's playing his ass off to stay on the Raptors. That's just the truth. You can see it. I was just saying, yeah, when what happens when they leave Scottie wide open like they did in Game 6 against Philly? You mean like as far as like they don't pass it to him or something like that? Well, listen, once again, it's the coach's call. And at that point last year in Game 6 against Philly, Scottie was still a rookie in his first year. And like he did not need to have clutch moments in playoff big games. I'm sorry. That's you don't give him the ball at the end of the game in Game 6 against the Philadelphia 76ers in that way. I'm sorry. You just don't. Now that Game 6, we came out in general flat. And we did not come with the right energy overall as a team. And we did not play right. And that's why they beat us. And that was really disappointing to me. That's why we lost that series. It's not because they froze Scottie out and didn't give him the ball. They didn't come with the right attitude and the right energy to win that game, and Philly did. And that's why they lost that game. You know, I'm not gonna say this whole thing about like, you know, Scottie's not supposed to be a main offensive weapon right now for us. He's very much a glue guy, a passer, a facilitator, a rebounder, a shot blocker, the defensive presence down low. But he's not necessarily the number one option or the number two option, and he shouldn't be right now. He should be working on all aspects of his game and not totally worried about scoring. So if this is what we're kind of disagreeing about Scottie versus Pascal and stuff, we'll realize that Pascal is the scorer. He is the number one, and he should be getting the ball, and Scottie's the facilitator. He's actually not supposed to be shooting all the time. Now, in time, that may change, and he may get more of a workload as he progresses and gets more skilled on the offensive end. And I'm all for it. And I think that will happen. It's inevitable. But it will be balanced out and figured out by Nick and how he does it and calls the plays. Shir Khan saying, growing up, Bill Goldberg was my favorite, even if he had the one move, the jackhammer. The Rock and Steve Austin were the other ones I like to watch. Fun times. Yeah, Goldberg is interesting. He's come out recently saying a lot of things about Rihanna's Super Bowl halftime performance. I'm like, why the fuck are you commenting on this, Goldberg? Like, what the fuck? And it's really kind of funny. He's an idiot, honestly. In a lot of ways, Goldberg was a phenomena. He was a big draw. People were really interested in him, but he was horrible for wrestling also in some ways. He ended one of the greatest wrestlers of all time's career with a very unsafe kick to the head that gave the man a concussion and strokes later on. And that is Bret the Hitman Hart. And for some ways, I can never forgive Goldberg, much like Bret Hart won't either, because I'm a big Bret Hart fan. He is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. And yeah, that pissed me off. But I was all about Goldberg at that time. I lived in the South when he was getting big, and I went to WCW matches and Nitro and saw him on his streak and the impressive stuff that he did at that time. So yeah, he was a phenomenon for sure, but not a very good wrestler and very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. Fiercely saying Luka was just thinking about going to Mexico and rest. He had no care for All-Star game. He said it at the beginning of the weekend. They said, what are you most looking forward to this weekend, Luka? I'm looking forward to getting to Mexico on Sunday night. You say he's just real. At least he's just being honest. I got to give him credit for that. Fun guy saying letting Gary walk means you essentially let Norman Powell go for nothing, which is extremely significant. And that's merely an aspect of not letting a player walk for nothing. So GMs and Masai care for sure. All right. Well, I trust in Masai not to be stupid enough to let that happen. And what happened the last time everybody got worried about this? It was Kyle Lowry, right? Yeah, they got real worried about Kyle Lowry in the trade deadline. It's just almost carbon copy. It's the same shit. It's like, oh no, they're gonna let Kyle walk for nothing this summer. Well, did we see what happened? And why wouldn't we do this with Gary too? Even if Gary's not going to be on our team, we could very well do a sign and trade this summer and pull off a Kyle Lowry for Precious kind of move with Gary Trent Jr. But either way, so be it. Either way, it doesn't matter. Once again, the whole idea of losing guys for nothing is bullshit. It's just a made up bullshit, fucked up recent thing that is very much part of the dumb ESPN highlight culture in this league. Nobody cared about this shit in the 80s. Nobody cared about this shit in the 90s. Nobody worried about letting guys go for nothing. This is very much a made up bullshit thing in recent years. This has nothing to do with anything. You can think, oh, they let Kawhi go for nothing. Well, we couldn't do anything about that situation. And that's what I'm trying to illustrate to you. We don't have as much power over the situation as you think in some ways. Sure, we could have traded him, but also we're kind of thinking, you know what? We want Gary to try and make this team and still be around here. And we don't really want to trade him right now just for the sake of trading him because we have a fear that we're going to lose him for nothing this summer. See, that's when you say, what I just said, you're doing something out of fear. And whenever you do something out of fear, you've already lost. And that's not what Masai's trying to do, things out of fear. Come on, man. That's what an afraid GM would do. I'm afraid of Gary losing. I better sign him right now. Oh, my gosh. Nah, dog. He can do everything he wants to do in the summer. He can wait. And I believe him. And then, you know what? It's in Gary's interest to do a sign and trade if he is going to go somewhere else because we can pay him more money. And we don't have to pay him that money. We can trade it and turn around just like Kyle. So this is what I'll say about this whole concern. Look at what we did with Kyle Lowry, first of all. Trust in Masai. And also understand that this is a silly fucking thing that is manufactured by modern day NBA culture. That this did not fucking matter in the 90s or the 80s. We did not give a shit about players leaving for nothing. And I still think it's full of shit. And as Masai said, what does that even mean? What does that even mean? Let a player leave for nothing. He's like questioning y'all himself, the guy who's doing the job. What does that even mean, fun guy? He's going to say that to you. If you came to him and said, Masai, don't let Gary leave for nothing. He'll be like, fun guy, but what does that mean? What do you mean leave for nothing? Like, I mean, seriously, it's crazy. It's just bullshit made up shit by the NBA media to scare fans is basically what it is at this point. It doesn't mean jack shit. So go ahead and keep saying it, but it doesn't mean shit. Let somebody leave for nothing. It's silly. No offense, fun guy. I love you, bro. And I'm not trying to make fun of you or anything. It's just that I really am sick of this narrative. I wish it would just die. People that say, oh, you're going to let our players leave for nothing. They don't know. In some ways, you don't know what you're talking about because Masai doesn't worry about this. Obviously, he's saying, what do you mean by that? It was so funny when he asked him that, and they asked him that, and he said that. I was like, you go, Masai. He doesn't give a shit. He's not basing things on fear. He's basing things on strength and position and value of our guys and people wanting our guys. He's using his position of strength and patience, and he's not like scared. He's not, oh, they're going to leave. I got to do something. That's not how he operates, man. You don't think Masai's slick and smart enough to have this all figured out? Why? He's not up at night worrying about Gary Trent's going to leave for nothing this summer. No, he's got a plan. He's got it all fucking figured out. We just don't know what it is. Seymour saying virtual huge on family day from our Raptor freak family. Virtual hug. Here you go, Seymour. There you go, buddy. Oh, there you go. Yeah, nice hug. Yeah, there we go. Fun guy saying happy tax day, y'all. Hopefully CRA and IRS don't come for me. No audits this year for fun guy. No. And Seymour's got some cool emotes. I've never seen those ones. They're weird. Mike's saying I showed how it's possible to keep them this summer. Not gonna lie, no luxury this year. I tried to push the video hard, but I don't know. I guess I didn't explain it well enough for everyone to get why we can keep the core. Mike, you did a good job. I watched it, and you did a great job. Very much illustrated it all. It's just people got to pay attention. Some people just have a hard time digesting your content with it all. Like it's very heady with numbers, and you kind of have to be an advanced like fan to understand some of it just because it is very heady with numbers. in some ways. So I don't know if that it's not a critique, but maybe a way you could do it is maybe very simplify it like Sesame Street and dummy it up so that people really can understand it from all walks of life. Let's see. Seymour saying the Frankensteiner was the most devastating finisher. It really was. I mean, listen, you got Rick Steiner coming off the top ropes like that. He hurt people all the time. In fact, he broke Buff Bagwell's neck on that move. And then also around Rick Steiner, that was when Sid Vicious broke his leg in half. That was crazy too. Holy crap. But yeah, Frankensteiner. Yeah. Let's see. Seymour's also saying Sable's been going around since Mark Marrow, but Happy Brock is happy. No, actually, that's not true. She's not like a hoe or anything. She's not Sunny. Sunny was a hoe, but Sable very much wasn't. She was very classy in that kind of way. And it was weird because she came back to WWF and started working, and Brock was young, and he was like very much the young stud, and he showed an interest in her, and it just kind of started developing. It's very weird how that started, just like Austin and Deborah. Like one day they're on the plane, and all of a sudden, Steve Austin's sitting next to Deborah, and they're like an item. And then all of a sudden, they're like, "Whoa, look at this!" Michael Hayes like telling like Jim Ross, like, "Look at Austin's looking. He's sitting with Deborah." Was a similar kind of thing. All of a sudden, Brock started sitting with Sable, and now they're married and they got kids and they live in Saskatchewan. And he basically told her, "Is like, listen, I'll go out with you and I'll be with you, but you have to quit the WWF right now." And he sent her home and made her a housewife, and that's why she's not allowed on TV hardly at all ever. That was part of the stipulation of their relationship. Brock was like, "You can't be on TV no more if you're going to be my wife." And that's why you don't see Sable no more. Alistair saying the only reason Siakam and Barnes work is because there's no center now that they have to spread out for the offense to click. You know what? They're gonna work. Just trust me. They're gonna work. They're gonna figure this out. A lot of our problems this season don't have anything to do with guys not fitting. They have to do with us not shooting well, having bad injuries, things just not clicking exactly right. It's like everything was just a little bit off, and it added up to just slightly losing. And it's really like blaming them as not having chemistry for why we didn't play well most of the season is not actually the culprit. Trust me. G saying actually they had to rebound more and be in the spot more due to a lack of center. Scottie had to actually play center. Now he can play shooting guard like he has in the last two games. Exactly. This is exactly right. He's taken the onus and the burden of the center duties off of everybody else. And when we start Precious at center, that means Siakam and OG and Scottie all have to do center duties also because he's not a full center. It's like Precious is a three-quarter center. And then you have to have a couple other guys shadow and help with big guys like Nurkic and Zubac and Jokic and Embiid. Yeah, you're drawing one of our other defenders because he has to come double team because they can't handle the size. Well, now you have Yak who can just straight up play the center and nobody has to come help. Well, that's going to help everything on the defensive end as far as getting out to the three-point shooters and not letting them get open threes. We can stay at home more. And the benefits of this are going to be so huge that people are going to see them and they're like, holy shit, he really does make us better. So that's on the defensive end. And the stuff on the offensive end has been talked about a lot also with the spacing he's going to cause. Is you just have him near the paint. It's the reverse. The other teams, if they don't have a good center, they have to shadow like we used to have to against centers. And that's going to mean more open shots for people like Gary and Fred and Pascal and Scottie on the outside. So Jakob's going to help everything on both sides of the court. Less center duties for OG, Pascal, and Scottie is good. Trust me. Scottie's happy because he doesn't have to be the big bully, the bad guy in the middle. He has a big bully guy to do it for him now. So let's see. Tom Duke saying W stream Lex. Whoop whoop. Let's freaking go, Raptors. Yeah, I love it, Tom. Fun guy just got me paranoid, so I must clean up my desk now. Tom's worried about CRA coming for him. I'm sure your company's on the up and up, Tom. You're such a good company, I'm sure. Seymour Pape said NBA Chef said he still wants Moses Brown. Man, some people just won't let these names die. Jalen Harris. I'm sorry, Paul B. Jalen Harris, Moses Brown. These people just want these guys on this team. 905 Yada saying, nah, Mike, you explained it perfectly. Not always the creator, sometimes it's on the audience. That's right. Well, that's part of it too. Is like my delivery and the way I am is going to turn a lot of people off, and they're not going to want to watch me or be able to sit and listen to me like this. And it could be some ways your delivery is just overwhelming, Mike. And then some people just maybe like, this is so much information all at once. It's really hard for me to take it all in at once. But you know what? Your stuff's getting better and better. Your times are shorter and you're more concise. One of the things that I've really seen recently with you specifically is that you're very much staying on the point and you're kind of not meandering into other subjects all of a sudden and then coming back into it. You stay focused, your stuff will be better and better, and you're practicing. That's what you got to do. You get better and better as you do it, just like me here. So yeah, good stuff, Mike. Honestly, you did really explain it really, really well, and I agree with Yada. Tom Duke's saying awesome stuff, Mike. Yeah, for sure. And Greg does a lot of good explaining too. It may be that Greg's style may appeal to some people easier to learn it with what he does on the clink. So, but you guys, I love that we're having like common themes in our content and what we're putting out, and we're kind of tackling similar subjects, but in our own specific way. And kind of like in some ways that reinforces Project Truth as far as like, okay, these guys are all on the same page. Maybe we should be listening to them. And these other people are a little negative and maybe talking Fred down or this person down too much. But these guys kind of are shining the light and saying this is the way we can do it with the luxury tax in our roster. So I like that. We're fighting the good fight, and that's the most important thing. Seymour's got a really weird emoticon. I guess that's biting his nails. That's really weird. I've never seen these ones. Like, where are they from? They're so weird. So weird. Seymour saying Siakam announcing the halftime, then the African music threw me off, but I might be looking too deep into things. Well, this is what I'll say, Seymour. Once again, Burna Boy is friends with the Raptors. I know that he is personally very good friends with Precious, and that Precious has been on stage with him recently. Like he'd go to the show and he'll bring him on stage, and he has a microphone and he's singing with him on stage or dancing or doing something like that. So they know the Raptors. Burna Boy is very good friends, and I think that he specifically asked for Siakam to do that introduction himself, the performer, because he's like, this is my guy. This is my Raptor guy, and I love him. And we want Siakam to introduce us. He's like, who do you want? You could get any of the All-Stars to introduce you at halftime. He's like, I want my guy Pascal. He's my guy. And I think that's probably how it went down, is it was up to Burna Boy, and they picked Siakam. So let's see. Mike saying, interesting, Lex. I'm going to keep it in mind for the next extension series. I could have shown the changes in options and numbers to show how I say certain things look visually without relying on audio. Whatever you want to do, just experiment and try different things and see if you get different reactions and stuff like that. In some ways, sometimes you really do have to dumb it down for people to really get a huge audience. It's really about what your goals are, Mike. Do you want it to be like really specific, in-depth, really heady NBA expert kind of content? For those kind of people, there is a market for that, but it may be very niche and small. But if you want to go mainstream, there's always ways. Like I could do things on this channel that would make me more mainstream, but I don't want to. I really have a spot that I want to be in, and I'm getting the correct people attracted to come in here, like you guys. And in some ways, if I sacrifice what I'm doing to try and cater to more people and getting more people in there, I'd be sacrificing what I want to do in the way I want to do it. And that's the thing you got to really balance is like, what's your goals? Do you want to get more subscriptions and more views? Well, then you might want to do it more in a mainstream way that's attractive. But if you don't, and you were like me, and you just have a niche audience and you're very cool with it and you like it and you found your family, well, then that's good too. So it's really your goals. It's really what your goals are with your channel and how you want to do it. Let's see. Allstar saying it was good in his case because he cannot space the floor. When Poeltl gets doubled, he will not be able to complement him. Shooters fit with Yak and skills best. Yeah. I mean, they're all going to fit. In some ways, Jakob and Scottie are very similar. They're very similar kind of players, except for like the outside shooting and the dunking that Scottie can do that Yak can't do. And then the big man stuff that Scottie doesn't do as well as Jakob. But they're very similar in their outlook on being an unselfish teammate that passes from anywhere. You are going to see it more and more on the other side of the All-Star break. Jakob's passing skills are going to be very fun. He's going to find people in very interesting ways, kind of like Gasol light. It's not that he's Marc Gasol on the passing exactly, but he does have a very good above average passing skill for a center. And this is something we're going to see way more and more. And that is going to help space things out because honestly, Fred can do something like this. And I hope they do this all the time. Basically, they should have a policy where Jakob touches the ball at least once every time down the floor. And all it has to be is like throw it in, lob it into him in the low post for a second. He gets a touch and he may throw it right back out to like Gary and he's hitting a three or something, or he's getting a cutter in the lane and he's just dumping it off and Siakam's jamming it. I like him touching the ball, and even if he just touches for a second, passes it right back out to Fred, and Fred continues it, it's still a very good checklist thing to have happen every time down the court. And him and Scottie, they need to touch the ball when the Raptors have the ball, because they make good things, create good things to happen. Easier shots, higher percentage shots, because they're assisted and they're like set up from really good passers. So I'm really excited about that aspect and exploring it more on the other side of the All-Star break. Fun guy saying, I would put Masai in his place, laugh out loud, not precisely to his job, but in general aspects. He's not as smart as anyone thinks. He's good at a precise job, not the smartest man, laughing my ass off. I'm not going to denigrate our trusted leader, the guy we really do love and trust. This man is a genius. I'm sorry. He may not be exactly the smartest person in the world, but you know what? He is really smart, seriously. And he's taking care of things that maybe some other people don't take care of. He takes care of all aspects. I'm sure he's a big picture person, and he has very low tolerance for things that don't go along with how he wants to run the ship. And this is part of why he's so successful, and he's made our organization such an elite sports organization in the world. I give him so much credit for all of that. And I don't think that, like, you can't really like lowball him or give him less credit on that. You need to give him a lot of credit for that. So I got to disagree. He is a genius when it comes to basketball. He's one of the greatest scouts in the history of the NBA. And he seriously is one of the greatest GMs in the history of the NBA. I don't think he's overrated. I think that he very much carries a calling card that is true to him in the way people look at him. So I don't know if you put him in his place. That'd be fun. You're a big guy, fun guy. But I know that Masai is also very big. He's like 6'6". He's not a short dude. He played in the NBA. He didn't play in the NBA, but he was a good basketball player. He just didn't have certain skills to make it all the way. But yeah, I don't know. Come on, man. Let's not come after our guys. It's all love right now. Positivity, beautiful things, man. Superfan Monique Lawrence is saying, good afternoon. Best halftime in years. Way to go, Pascal. Good to see Monique checking in right at the end. I am going to wrap it up real quick, Monique, but really good to see your name getting in here at the last minute. Mike saying, I just want to report the facts and truth effectively to have people open their minds on options and things with the Raptors. I realize some things are more important information-wise. The extra YT is meh. Okay, well, you know your goals, Mike, and you tailor it and you tinker with it as you see fit. And I, you know what, you're just improving, honestly. In the time I've followed you, you've gotten way, way better in different ways. And I do appreciate that about your channel. All right, just real quick. Congratulations, Team Giannis, on breaking the streak and winning the game finally, 184 to 175. Crazy ass, stupid, no defense game that's ugly. Yeah. And we hate you, Jason Tatum, but congratulations on breaking the record, 55, and being the MVP. Good job by our guy Siakam with 6 for 8 from the field, 12 points, 7 rebounds. 4 assists. Siakam looked real good in the game. I really liked it. And ESPN gave him an A- for what he did on the court. Just in general, just good stuff going on with the Raptors. And I'm really looking forward to seeing us getting back to things on Thursday. Tomorrow, we are going to do the Raptor Freak Classic Jurassic Trivia. So be ready, 9:30 a.m. I will not reveal who it's on, but you guys will find out tomorrow right before. So if you want to play some trivia tomorrow, well, that's what we're going to be doing at 9:30 tomorrow. It'll be a trivia game. Let's see. Real quick, Yada's saying a lot of channels are money-driven. So much respect, Mike. Yeah. Well, and that's part of you can find why they make a clickbait article or a headline, or they make kind of like content that is kind of drawing people in and controversy, or maybe they say something negative in the title that pisses off Raptor fans like us, and it draws us to it just because we want to see it and it makes us mad. There's all kinds of different ways that people are doing this, and in some ways that's why you should suss out the reasoning for why people make their content. Do they care about the money? Do they care about this? What do they care about? And you know what my reasons for why I'm doing this is, because I'm a very passionate Raptor fan. I love this team, and I want to fight the information war against all the noise and the bullshit and the negativity to help this team get NBA championships. There's no money involved in this for me at all, since I've been doing this straight for over 500 days. And, that takes dedication and stuff. And so, my motives are. I don't know what everybody else's motives are. But, you can find out if you just discover over time kind of what's going on with this channel and stuff like that. But much respect, 905 Yada. And yeah, fun guy saying, my perception of Masai is that he's a very brilliant man, but brilliant to scouting and basketball aspects. General intelligence in life is different, and he could try challenging me on that. Okay. All right. I'm glad you clarified it. Yeah, his basketball mind is great as far as assessing talent and seeing who could be good And you know what? He's probably really good at assessing psychologically, like people's profile mentally and who they are. That's probably a big part of what he's doing too. It's like everything they do when they go to dinner with a young guy and they're trying him out, they may be like, yeah, he's chewing with his mouth open. There's all kinds of shit he's probably looking at. I don't know. I don't know what his general knowledge would be like. It'd be interesting, but I wouldn't want to sully him. He seems like a very intelligent guy, and I know you are too. But it doesn't have to be a contest. Come on. Someday, maybe we should say a fun guy has a challenge for you, Masai. And maybe you guys could do like a Jeopardy game or something. I don't know. Tom Duke's laughing at fun guy shots fired. Fiercely say thank you for your dedication. I appreciate it, Fiercely. It's for people like you, honestly. You guys are just like me. We're birds of a feather. We really care about the Raptors. And that is the only important thing about this channel is we love the fucking Raptors, and that's all that matters. And fuck Brooklyn, and fuck Boston, fuck Philly. Seymour saying Masai has a vision for the future. Yeah, he really does. He's got a 10-year vision. Fun guy. So let's go look at his vision and see if we think he's still smart. All right, guys, have a great day. And thank you, Monique. I will keep at it. I appreciate all y'all. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll be back tomorrow for some Raptor-free classic Jurassic trivia. Let's go. Siakam and Barnes at All-Star. And Nav Bhatia, you're a gangster too. Let's go, Raptors! Yeah!